Part 13. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 121. Teacher, teacher, you are still the same, nothing has changed. Orochimaru looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was laughing beside him, and felt extremely disgusted in his heart. What he hated was not the plots and methods of Sarutobi Hiruzen. What he hated was Sarutobi Hiruzen's unchanging style of doing things and his old-school thinking. Moreover, Orochimaru knew that if his teacher continued, there would be no chance of a happy ending. The new generation of Konoha is growing up, and there is no need for old guys like them to continue to stand above their heads. So it's doomed, these old guys will be replaced. But what this alternative method will look like is hard to say. In order not to let his teacher die an ugly death, but also in order to change this unchanging Konoha, Orochimaru planned the collapse of Konoha this time. Do you think he is just sitting around and having a hard time? No. This is a gift he has been preparing for a long time and gives to his teacher. Let him end up a hero. In Orochimaru's opinion, this is the best gift he could give to his teacher. At this time, Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was feeling smug, didn't know yet. The Yondaime Kazekage sitting next to him was his most beloved disciple ever. Moreover, this time his most beloved disciple came to Konoha again in order to kill him. If Sarutobi Hiruzen knew, I'm afraid I won't be able to laugh anymore. Boom. The two figures separated instantly, retreated a distance and then stopped. Naruto, your taijutsu has improved again. You are indeed a genius. 750 Xiaoli looked at Naruto in front of him with a complicated face. In terms of the time to practice taijutsu, Naruto was several years behind him. In terms of the intensity of training, Xiaoli thought that he would not lose to anyone. But now, in terms of physical skills, Naruto has gradually caught up with him. This made Xiaoli once again clearly aware of the gap between himself and the real genius. Although Naruto used to be the weakest in school, this crane tail obviously does not live up to its name. He is obviously a genius ninja. After practicing for 1 or 2 years, he can catch up with himself who has been practicing for 6 or 7 years. What is this but a genius? Xiaoli has always wanted to prove himself. Even if he is not a genius, as long as he works hard enough, he can still defeat the genius. So he practices harder than anyone else. He spends all the time that others spend eating, playing, and resting on practicing. He had to work several times or even 10 times harder than others to close the gap in talent. But now, Xiaoli suddenly realized that even if he worked 10 times harder, he still wouldn't be able to catch up. Go to these geniuses. Because they are also working hard. When a genius starts to work hard, what can a person with no talent like him do to catch up with the other person? For a moment, Xiaoli felt a little depressed. He began to doubt, are your efforts over the past few years meaningful? I'm not a genius. Naruto said loudly, at this time I only know that I used to be the worst person in the class. Everyone didn't like me, and I kept playing pranks, trying to attract everyone's attention in this way. But then it was Ryusuke who woke me up. He let me know that playing pranks would only make everyone hate me more, and that I should spend that time improving myself. Ryusuke said that only when you become a better version of yourself, will everyone recognize you. So I have been working hard to improve myself in the past 2 years, and I have now been recognized by some people, which shows that my efforts are in the right direction. Xiaoli, haven't you been practicing so hard to prove your tolerance? So, stop talking about genius. If I were still the same me who only knew how to play pranks, I wouldn't be able to stand here now. Do you think this is just a matter of geniuses and ordinary people? If you don't put in the hard work and sweat, how can you get the rewards you have now? Naruto's inspiring words instantly cheered up Xiaoli, who was depressed just now. Naruto, you are right, I shouldn't always dwell on the question of genius or not. I was wrong. Xiao Li's eyes were shining, and the blood in his body was boiling again. Hard work will yield rewards, even if you are a genius. If you don't work hard, you will only become a mediocre person. And if I didn't work hard, I wouldn't be as strong as I am now. I see. Xiao Li said loudly, Naruto, come on. Let us complete the final showdown, but this time I will use my last move. If you can't hold on, remember to surrender as soon as possible. I knew Xiao Li that you had one last trick up your sleeve. Naruto laughed and said happily, but you are not the only one who still has a skill. I also have a trick that I have never used. Xiao Li, don't be scared later. Naruto. Xiao Li. I'm going to fuck. Asterisk 2. 8 door Dunjia, open the door, open it. The art of multiple shadow clones. On the field, hundreds of Narutos appeared. On the other side, Xiao Li, who opened the first door, was full of energy. Show Lotus. Naruto bombs continuously. Boom. Boom. A huge roar resounded throughout the venue. Xiao Li, who opened the first door, both speed and strength have been greatly improved compared to before opening the door. However, this is obviously not enough, so next in 1 second, Xiao Li opened 2 doors in succession, opening the Ximen Gate and the Shenmen Gate. Green flames began to burn on his body. It was like a Super Saiyan transformation. Bloom. Lotus. Xiao Li shouted and instantly pulled out a series of after images. Naruto also shouted, and the chakra on his hand gathered to form a blue ball. At the same time, a dozen shadow clones around him also performed the same moves. Shadow clone. Raise non-pill. Boom. Boom. A huge explosion sounded on the field. The entire field was blown apart. Smoke and dust rolled, blocking the sight of many people. In the stands on the players' side, everyone looked at it in surprise. Looking at the scene below. No. Are these two guys so strong? Shikamaru opened his mouth in surprise, but his face still had the lazy look before. Others also had surprised expressions. Naruto's strength has improved again, but I'm not bad either. Sasuke looked at Naruto, who was using the Raise Non, comparing himself in his mind, and found that the strength of the two should be about the same. He also learned the Chidori ninjutsu from Kakashi. Combined with his single-eyed double Megatama, he can perform it has extremely amazing lethality. It is no worse than Naruto's Raise Non. Moreover, Sasuke can also shadow clone. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. His shadow clone can also use Chidori.it. It's just that I can't compare to Naruto in terms of chakra, so I can't squander it as much as Naruto does. Raise Non? Did Jiraiya teach this ninjutsu to Naruto? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. He was a little worried whether Jiraiya would reveal anything about his life experience to Naruto. He planned to have a good chat with Jiraiya after the exam was over. After all, Naruto's life experience, he can't know it yet. Otherwise, God knows if Naruto will get emotional. He has managed to gain a good impression of Naruto over the years and has gotten to this point, but he can't let Jiraiya ruin it for him. His tall image in Naruto's mind. At this time, the smoke and dust on the field dispersed, revealing the pitted field. Standing outside the field, the corners of Shiranui Genma's mouth twitched a few times. He felt that if he stayed on the field, he would be very powerful. They might be beaten to death by these two brats. What the hell are they called, genin? In addition to experience and other things, in terms of pure destructive power, even some special jounin are not as good as these two brats. And this. It's not over yet. 8 gates of Dunjia. Open Shangman and Duman. Xiao Li shouted, the arrogance all over his body rose, and the burning became more intense. His whole eyes had turned white, and even his consciousness was a little blurry. Opening 5 doors in a row was already the limit he could reach. And Naruto on the opposite side saw that the aura had become more powerful, and even Xiao Li, who could make the surrounding ground crack with just the burst of chakra, shouted and used the multiple shadow clone technique again. In an instant, hundreds of shadow clones almost filled the entire venue. Naruto shouted, "Shadow clone. Super spiral Rengen." What would it be like to have hundreds of shadow clones using Rasengan together? You can see it right now. 300 and dozens of Naruto's shadow clones used Rasengan at the same time. The densely packed pills rushed towards Xiao Li with the fearless charge of the shadow clones. And Xiao Li, who opened the 5th door, also destroyed a dozen shadow clones in front of him with one kick. Even the Rasengan in their hands failed to hit Xiao Li, and exploded on the spot due to the destruction of the shadow clone. Xiao Li attacked crazily. The speed was so fast that countless figures of him appeared in the audience. It looked like there were more than Naruto's hundreds of shadow clones. In the stands, the audience was overjoyed. For a few hundred taels of tickets, you can watch such a wonderful game. What a bargain! This is only the first game. There are 4 more games to come. At the thought of this, the audience couldn't help but cheer enthusiastically. Cheer loudly for the 2 young ninjas on the field. Become titanium. Are all the genin in Konoha transformed into titanium? Kankuro, who was sitting in the audience, looked at the hundreds of Narutos on the field with a pale face. When he thought that he had had conflicts with the opponent before, and even almost started a fight, Kankuro couldn't help but feel scared. Fortunately, there was no fight that day. Otherwise, his crow would have been scrapped before the second exam. Even he himself would have been beaten to death on the spot, right? Thinking of this, Kankuro couldn't bear it. I was left in a cold sweat. Konoha is so scary. Konoha genin are even scarier. This guy Xiao Li. Could this 8-gate Dunjia be the trick he had specially prepared for me, as he said in the past? In the stands, Hyaganiji was also pale. He suddenly remembered that Xiao Li had told him before that in order to defeat him, a genius, he had prepared a special trick for him. At that time, Niji had not given up much. In my heart. After all, Xiao Li has never been able to beat him. Every time he competes, he is the winner. But now looking at Xiao Li on the field, Niji is really frightened. This 8-gate Dunjia is too titanium. Right? With Xiao Li's current speed and strength, let alone him, even if he were several times stronger, he would still be completely unstoppable, right? Even if he was self-taught, he wouldn't be able to withstand Xiao Li in this state. Explosions like crazy. Is this the trick Xiao Li prepared to defeat me? No, I just beat you a few times, you don't need to try to kill me, right? Kai, you are too messy. Did you teach this child this forbidden technique? Kakashi glanced at Metkai, who was already crying excitedly beside him, and shook his head helplessly. Kakashi, you don't understand. 0.5 is the way of ninja of that child. He has worked harder than other people of his age for everything today, so even if he tries his best, it will still be worth it to Xiao Li. Mitka wiped his tears and said while crying. Okay, hurry up and stop crying, there are so many people watching. Kakashi moved a few steps to the side, fearing that Metkai would suddenly hug him. It's not like he had never done this before. That's why Kakashi had a psychological shadow and was on guard against this guy in advance. On the field, the roar of battle, it took a long time to stop. And the smoke and dust that spread all over the place also blocked everyone's sight. At this time, the examiner Shiranui Genma also formed a seal with his hands and used a wind escape to blow away the smoke and dust in the whole place. Waiting until the smoke and dust after they dispersed, the large and small potholes all over the place were also shocking. And among these potholes, there were still 2 figures lying. One on the left and one on the right. They seemed to be unable to get up. A draw, Shiranui Genma thought. At this moment, Naruto in one of the potholes suddenly gritted his teeth and stood up. His strong recovery power allowed him to recover his strength faster than Xiao Li. Moreover, he was originally injured. It's not as heavy as Xiao Li, after all, there are so many shadow clones blocking him in front. But Xiao Li is different, most of his injuries were caused by forcing the 5 doors to open. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 122. Uzumaki Naruto wins. After Shiranui Genma checked on Xiao Li's condition, he announced that Naruto had won the competition. After all, Naruto was still awake and could even stand up. Xiao Li had completely lost consciousness and passed out. It was clear at a glance who lost and who won. At this time, Metkai also came to the field in an instant and picked up Xiao Li, who was unconscious on the ground. Xiao Li, you did it. You've done a great job. Metkai cried bitterly and called people from the medical class to carry Xiao Li down. Teacher Kai, is Xiao Li okay? Naruto also ran over and asked. In just a short time, he had recovered to the point where he could run and jump. He couldn't look at the half-dead look he had lying on the ground before. This recovery ability also made Metkai see it with a look of envy. It's okay, Xiao Li is just exhausted. His injuries are not serious and he will recover soon. Metka wiped away his tears, then patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, Naruto, thank you for allowing Xiao Li to fully demonstrate his abilities. I hope Xiao Li is fine. Naruto scratched his head as he said this. Teacher Kai, I am also Xiao Li's friend, and I almost lost to Xiao Li. Xiao Li relied on his own strength, so you don't need to thank me. When Metkai heard this, he cried even louder. He hugged Naruto and cried loudly. Naruto. Teacher Kai, please let me go. Naruto struggled, but as he was no stronger than Metkai, he couldn't break away at all. In the stands, Kakashi also laughed secretly when he saw Naruto's appearance. Naruto, you have to hold on. Kakashi thought with a snicker. He has also experienced this kind of thing personally. All he can say is, take care of yourself. It was an exciting first game, and the audience had already earned back the direct ticket price. Then, the second game begins. This match is 08 Shikamaru vs Shino. To be honest, at the end of the fight, this so-called joint Chuunin exam almost turned into an exam for the Konoha family. In the second game, Konoha only had the majority. But now it's the third game. Except for Temari and Gaara, the 2 ninjas of Tsunagakuer. The other 8 are all from Konoha. 5 games, each involving Konoha's ninjas. There are also competitions like Naruto vs Lee and Shikamaru vs Shino, where ninjas from the same village compete with each other for a winning spot. The visual effect of the scene between Shikamaru and Shino is far less exciting than the previous scene between Naruto and Xiao Li. After the field was filled in by Konoha's ninjas using Earth Escape, Shikamaru and Shino also appeared one after another. One of the 2 fights with their brains, the other controls insects, and their presence is extremely low. The battle scenes are not grand at all. The battle was over before the audience even understood. In the end, Shikamaru defeated Shino. Shino didn't lose to strength, but to brains. He was tricked by Shikamaru. However, the ordinary viewers couldn't understand it, but the ninjas present, especially the Jounin, saw it in a wonderful way. I also secretly admired that the children of Shikaku's family deserved to inherit Shikaku's IQ, they were so smart. If they were put in Shino's position, their strength would not be able to crush Shikamaru. I'm afraid the person who loses in the end will be themselves. Shikamaru's mind is really flexible. Many times they had to think carefully to understand some of Shikamaru's little actions a few minutes ago. It was these seemingly inadvertent actions, combined together, that finally allowed Shikamaru to win. Certainly. During the battle Shikamaru also exposed his shortcomings. That is, the hard power aspect is very average. And there is too little chakra. After the fight, I was almost exhausted. This is not actually Shikamaru's shortcoming. The members of the Nara clan are indeed not very good at chakra. They can only be said to be average. Of course, this is compared to other ninja clans. If compared with civilians, he is still very good. The third game, Hyaga Hinata vs Hyaga Niji. Invite 2 contestants to the stage. Shiranui Genma is still thinking about the battle just now. Compared to the physical competition between Naruto and Xiao Li, he prefers Shikamaru's competition in which the weak defeat the strong with his brains. As for the reason? Of course it is. Because of the former, he couldn't gain anything from it at all. Apart from feeling that these two genin were really awesome, he had no other feelings. But after watching Shikamaru's battle, he felt that he had learned something from it. And the next one is just a fun game to watch. After all, the two ninjas from the Hyaga family must be using the soft fists of the Hyaga family. Foreigners like them can learn nothing. Just watch the excitement. Or let those ninjas who have never seen the Hyaga family's soft fist take a good look at the way the Hyaga ninjas fight. They can also gain some experience from it. At least if they meet the ninjas of the Hyaga family in the future, then you won't be helpless after being beaten. Brush. Brush. 2 figures fell on the field. Are you all ready? Shiranui Genma asked. Hinata and Niji both nodded, but their eyes were still staring at each other. Ninkai was recalling the past memories in his mind. In his memory, how did the people in the clan treat him? In his memory, how did his father sacrifice his life on behalf of Hinata and Hinata? All these things made him look at Hinata with a bit more hatred in his eyes. Now that you're ready, let's get started. After Shiranui Genma finished his announcement, he instantly left the field with a teleportation technique. In the stands, Hinata also said to his little daughter sitting next to him, Hanabi, look carefully, this is our Hinata. This is a duel between 2 of the most outstanding young ninjas in the clan, whether it is your sister or Niji, they are both rare talents. You have to learn some experience from them, you know. Hyaga Hanabi nodded and looked at the battle that had started on the field seriously. Bagua. 32 palms. After a moment of fighting, almost at the same time, Hinata and Niji both used Bagua-zang. 32 palm shadows hit each other, and they were all in the same position, so the attacks cancelled each other out. Bagua. Empty palm. The moment Hinata finished the 32 palms, she jumped back and hit Ningji on the opposite side with a palm from the air. Ningji dodged to avoid it, and Hinata's Bagua air palm blasted out a water tank-sized ball on the spot. Come on. We all learned the same moves, you can't beat me. Ningji yelled with ferocious eyes, and at the same time, he instantly launched a series of attacks with his hands. Brother Niji, I will not lose to you. Hinata dodged to avoid it, and at the same time, the chakra on her palms gathered together, and she fired the second Bagua air palm, forcing Niji into a corner instantly. Bagua. 64 palms. A Bagua pattern formed under his feet, and 64 palms directly enveloped Hyaga Niji in front of him. At this time, it was too late for Hyaga Niji to fight back with the same 64 palms. Read the Bao's Huang novel, go to Fila Novel Network. Bagua-zang. Return to heaven. Niji opened his hands, and instantly a large amount of chakra spurted out from his body. His whole body rotated to form an absolutely defensive field, blocking Hinata's 64 palms. Bagua. 64 palms. When Hinata had just finished the 64 palms and her body was stiff for a brief moment, Niji seized this opportunity and directly used the same 64 palms to hit Hinata. Bagua-zang. Return to heaven. As a result, Hinata also used Kaishin and blocked Niji's 64 palms. The hundreds of spectators in the stands also cheered enthusiastically. This was much more exciting than the previous one. Of course. In the eyes of those real jonin, the previous showdown between Shikamaru and Shino was more exciting. But ordinary people just watched the excitement. People like Shikamaru and Shino, who are both calculating and buggy, in their opinion, there is no way to connect it with the word wonderful. On the contrary, in front of them is the Bagua array covering the ground, and the Huishin covering an area like a pot lid. No matter how you look at it, it is better than the previous one. The game is much more exciting. The sound and light effects are amazing at first glance. Hinata won. In the stands on the player's side, when Ryosuke Yagamai saw Niji's 64 palms being blocked by Hinata with Kaiten, he said with a smile on his face. It feels like Hinata is stronger than a month ago. Ino also nodded and said. Come on Hinata. Xiangren shouted. At the same time, Hinata on the field opened her hands directly after using Kaiten to block Niji's 64 palms, and an even larger amount of chakras surged out of her body. 8. Soft step double lion fist. The blue soft fist chakra formed the shape of two lion heads on Hinata's hands, and then roared and blasted towards Ningji on the opposite side. Ningji, who had just used Kaishin, was not able to do anything at this moment. The method was used for the second time, Dekaitenkai. He could only try his best to resist Hinata's soft step double lion fist. But this move was a soft fist technique that only clan members of the Hyuga clan could learn, and it was far more powerful than what Hinata had used before. Those moves were stronger. After Niji only resisted for a moment, he was blasted out by the two lion heads in Hinata's hands. He was in mid-air and was directly chased by Hinata. He blasted out two powerful attacks. He hit Niji hard to the ground. Boom! A burst of smoke and dust arose. Niji was lying at the bottom of a deep pit, and the forehead protector on his forehead was knocked off. He coughed a few times in pain, and then opened his eyes. Looking at the blue sky, he seemed to see his father's face appearing in the sky. Father, I've let you down. After he murmured, he tilted his head and passed out immediately. Brush. Hinata's figure fell in front of Ninkai. After checking and finding that Ninkai had just fainted, she breathed a sigh of relief. She had just been a little bit. It hit him on the head, and he added two more punches at the end. I almost thought that Niji was beaten to death by himself. Fortunately, Niji just fainted and was not beaten to death. Hinata wins. Shiranui Genma also appeared next to him at this time. He checked Niji and confirmed that he had lost his fighting ability before announcing that the winner was Hinata. At the same time, the medical team was also called to lift Niji down. In the stands, Hinata Hanabi jumped excitedly. Sister is great. Next to her, Hinata nodded with a satisfied smile. Then he looked at the excited Hanabi, and he couldn't help but frown. If Hinata is so good, then the elders of the clan will definitely ask him to. Hinata is established as the next generation heir of the clan, and as a result, Hanabi will be engraved as a caged bird. Thinking of this, Hinata couldn't be happy. Zone family, branch family. Hinata Hinashi rubbed his forehead sadly. Feeling a little distraught. Just at this time, he saw Hinata, who had returned to the stands and threw herself into the arms of Ryosuke Yagamai, and his face suddenly turned dark. Etc. Ryosuke Yagamai. Hyuga suddenly thought of something, and his eyes lit up. If Hinata is destined to marry outside, then she cannot be established as the next generation heir of the clan. Wouldn't Hanabi not need to be engraved with a caged bird? Hyuga Hinata felt that he seemed to have found a solution. However, how to get those elders to agree to let such an excellent Hinata marry Yagamai Ryosuke? Although Yagamai Ryosuke is also very good, and even learned, he has mastered time and space ninjutsu such as the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. But in the final analysis, he is just an elite jounin. and he is a civilian and has no power. It is conceivable that Hinata Hinashi would ask this question if he proposed these. If he doesn't follow the law, then the elders of the clan will definitely oppose his decision sternly. At that time, even if he is the clan leader, he will not be able to force the elders of the clan to agree to do this. Trouble, if only this brat was stronger. Hinata Hinatsu thought. Obviously before this, he was the one who least wanted Hinata to be with Yagami Ryusuke. But now, when he is faced with the fate of his two daughters, one of them is destined to be carved as a caged bird. He actually started supporting Hinata and Yagami Ryusuke to be together. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 123. If Ryusuke Yagami can possess cage-level strength, then Hinata Hisatsu will have enough reasons to convince the elders of the clan to agree to this matter. After all, even if Hinata is married outside, she is still Hinata's daughter. She is also the sister of the future head of the Hyuga clan. With this level of identity, as her husband, Yagami Ryusuke, when the Hyuga clan is in trouble, are you embarrassed not to come to help? Therefore, Hyuga Hisatsu can use the reason of adding a shadow-level ally to the Hyuga clan to persuade the elders of the clan. Even though the Hyuga clan seems to have a very high status in Konoha. But in fact, their Hyuga family's status can be said to be quite embarrassing. Although it has always been claimed to be the largest clan in Konoha to the outside world. But in fact, the Hyuga family can't even produce a cage-level ninja. This largest clan in Konoha really doesn't live up to its name. Therefore, using one more shadow-level ally as a reason, there is a high probability that the elders of the clan can be persuaded. In this regard, Hinata is confident. Pity. Ryusuke Yagami is not a cage-level player, although his potential is enough to support him reaching the cage level. But when exactly? A few years later? Or 10 years later? What Hinata and Hinata need is the ability to convince the elders of the clan right away. Not future potential. I can only delay it as much as possible. I hope this kid can reach the film level as soon as possible. Hyuga Hinashi looked at Yagami Ryusuke, who was surrounded by 3 girls over there, and couldn't help but look ugly again. Spending time and energy on women all day long, when will you reach the film level? Hyuga and Hinata looked like they hated the iron. The next match is Sasuke vs Gaara. Ryusuke Yagami turned his head and looked at Gaara, who was not far away. This guy looked like he couldn't wait any longer, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. The red panda can't wait any longer, Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile. The next second, Gaara over there suddenly looked over and stared at Ryusuke Yagami with eyes full of murderous intent. Your opponent is not me. He pointed at Sasuke over there. The latter also looked at Gaara with a fighting spirit. Hurry up, if I beat you, I will decide the winner with Ryusuke. Sasuke looked confident. It seemed that Gaara was not a threat at all. This made Gaara look at him with an evil look on his face. Next game, Uchiha Sasuke vs Gaara. Please come on, both players. On the field below, the examiner Shiranui Genma shouted loudly. Brush. A piece of sand flew up. Gaara appeared on the field in the form of sand teleportation. Come down. He shouted coldly at Sasuke. Can't you wait to lose to me? Sasuke sneered, turned over and jumped down from the stands, landing firmly on the field. Are you ready? Shiranui Genma looked at the two people. I will kill you and then kill that Yagami Ryusuke. Gaara said indifferently. Ryusuke Yagami. That's not a small statement, but the only person who can defeat Ryusuke is me, Uchiha Sasuke. No, you two can just fight. Why are you all bringing it on me? Yagami Ryusuke looked confused. One wants to kill him, and the other wants to defeat him. Am I so popular? Yagami Ryusuke. Kami Ryusuke looked at these two guys speechlessly. The game begins. Shiranui Genma announced loudly, and then exited the court. These two brats, one a descendant of Uchiha, and the other looked like they were not easy to mess with at first sight. Shiranui Genma didn't want to stay on the court and suffer disaster. Just like before. The scene between Naruto and Xiao Li. The movement was bigger than the fight between these special jonins. I really don't know how these brats are practicing now. How come they are all so strong? Sasuke on the field was there the moment the examiner announced the start of the competition. He opened his Sharingan. One on the left and one on the right, a double Megatama and a single Megatama, making him look even more evil. Gaara, on the other hand, directly opened his eyes with one hand. Holding it, a piece of sand instantly turned into sand shurikens, and they shot out densely in the direction of Sasuke. Doesn't this guy need to form a seal to perform ninjutsu? Sasuke relied on the excellent dynamic vision ability of the Sharingan to dodge the attack of the sand shuriken while approaching Gaara. When the distance was suitable, he quickly formed seals with both hands and released a huge fireball towards the target. Art Fire Escape Ho Fireball. There was a loud bang, and the fireball hit a piece of sand, causing a violent explosion. But Gaara on the back of the sand was unscathed, and even his eyes did not change at all. Wow! The sand dispersed, and Gaara found that Sasuke was missing. Where was he? He looked around for him. The next second. Thunder escape. Pseudo-darkness. Above Gaara's head, Sasuke's figure appeared there, forming seals with his hands, and instantly shot out a big thunder spear, stabbing Gaara fiercely below. Barrier of sand. Gaara raised his arm, and a large piece of sand blocked the top of his head for an instant. But the next moment, the thunder gun thrown by Sasuke directly penetrated the defense of this layer of sand. After piercing the sand, the remaining power remained unabated. It attacked Gaara below. Gaara looked at it coldly, with no intention of taking action to defend himself. Bingo! Sasuke's eyes flashed with joy. But the next second... What? He watched in surprise as a piece of sand suddenly flew out of the gourd behind Gaara, and it actually automatically blocked Sasuke's thunder gun. How come? He obviously didn't use any ninjutsu, so what happened to the sand? Sasuke couldn't understand, but his attack was indeed blocked by Gaara's sand. The attack failed, and Sasuke immediately dodged the sand that Gaara waved at him, moving at high speed to avoid the attack while looking for the opportunity strikes again. He has one more move, which is the Thunder Release Chidori he learned from Kakashi. This move is the Thunder Release Ninjutsu, which is more powerful than the Thunder Release Pseudo Darkness and has a more powerful penetration ability. Toralai. Even the sand in the gourd behind Gaara's back cannot stop Chidori's attack. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Moreover, as the fight unfolded, Sasuke also discovered the sand in the gourd behind Gaara seems to automatically block some attacks for him. This seems to have nothing to do with Gaara's own subjective consciousness. However, if his speed is fast enough, these will actively defend him. The sand will not be able to keep up with him. Chidori is extremely fast. Without the cooperation of the Sharingan, even the caster himself cannot accurately grasp the landing point of the ninjutsu. That's right. Just use Chidori, Gaara's sand will definitely not be able to keep up with my speed. Sasuke felt that he had found Gaara's weakness. His automatically defensive sand seemed unsolvable, but in fact the weakness was there, very obvious. The key is whether you have enough speed to catch this weakness. Although Sasuke does not have the physical ability that is so fast that it is invisible to the naked eye after opening the 8-gate dungeon like Xiao Li the moment he used Chidori, his straight-line movement speed was no slower than that of Xiao Li who had opened the 5-door state. With this speed, as long as he finds an opportunity, he can kill Gaara with one hit. End this battle directly. Now, the key is to find that opportunity. So next, Sasuke began to carry out harassing attacks around Gaara, testing the sand in the gourd behind him again and again, looking for patterns. What happened? Why does this Uchiha descendant keep circling the Tsunagakura ninja? Fight quickly. We're not here to watch your monkey show. Should we still fight? What's the point of spinning in circles all the time? Isn't it said that the descendants of Uchiha are very powerful? Why do I feel like I'm not as powerful as the two ninjas in the first game? What Uchiha? I don't think the name is worthy of the name. Sure enough, Uchiha is dead. After all, there is only one person left, so I shouldn't have expectations. In the audience, those who came for the Uchiha descendants from the beginning, now looked at Uchiha Sasuke running around the audience like a monkey trick, and they all complained in disappointment. At first, they were still disappointed. Only a few people were shouting. But later, more and more people began to complain dissatisfiedly. Sasuke himself also heard the complaints from the audience, which made him very anxious. He wanted to prove that even if the Uchiha clan only he is left alone, and he is still the Uchiha of Zenjin. But now, if he continues to mess around like this, these people are afraid that they will step on the glory of their Uchiha into the mud. Damn it! How dare these people? Sasuke gritted his teeth, and the Megatama on his pair of Sharingan was spinning crazily. Originally there was only a single Megatama in his left eye, but now the second Megatama gradually solidified. A few seconds later, his left eye, the second Megatama, was completely solidified. At that moment, Sasuke felt that the chakra in his body had increased sharply, and at the same time, his originally unbalanced vision suddenly became balanced. It's now. Suddenly, Sasuke caught a flaw in Gaara's body. Those sands that would automatically defend would pause for a moment after defending against the previous attack. This pause was very short. If it was the double Megatama in the right eye and the left eye before, Sasuke, who had a single Megatama, might have ignored it. But at this time, Sasuke, who had successfully activated double Megatama in both eyes, discovered the situation at once. Thunder escape. Chidori. Sasuke stepped hard on the wall of the venue with his right foot, and there was a click. The cement wall cracked a large area the moment he stepped on it. The next second, a thunder attribute chakra gathered in his hand, and emitted a sound like there was a harsh sound like the chirping of 1,000 birds. For a moment, Gaara felt as if his skin under the protection of the sand armor was being pricked by needles. Almost subconsciously, Gaara immediately let a large amount of sand surround him. A spherical sand ball was formed, firmly protecting him inside. Brush. It was like a lightning flash. Even faster than lightning in nature. Sasuke was still hundreds of meters away a second ago, the next second he was in front of Gaara. The Chidori on his right hand directly pierced Gaara's absolute defense. The Chidori with strong penetrating power even hurt the sand shield. Gaara. In an instant, Gaara let out an angry roar, like the roar of a wounded beast, and a terrifying aura filled the air from him. Brush. Money. Sasuke immediately retreated a distance. Looking at each other with doubtful eyes. This guy, what happened? Sasuke just seemed to feel that some terrifying monster was about to awaken from Gaara's body. The palpitating feeling made him instinctively choose to retreat. In the stands, he noticed that several ninjas dressed as Umbu suddenly started to the corners of Yagami Ryuzuki's mouth also raised a slight arc during the gesture of sealing. It's finally starting. He murmured to himself. What's going to start? Ino asked curiously, leaning in his arms. It's nothing, I'll take you back later. Ryusuke Yagami said. Just when Ino and the others were wondering why they were sent back first, feathers suddenly floated in the sky. Of course, these feathers were not real feathers, but illusions. Just an illusion formed. Who is using illusion? What happened? Not good. It's an enemy attack. The faces of the Konoha ninjas in the stadium changed with shock. Some jounin reacted as quickly as possible, but they were still a step too slow. In the stands above, the third generation Hokage and the fourth generation Feng were still chatting and laughing just now. Shadow, now turned into the latter holding the former hostage. Fen Ying, do you know what you are doing? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the scene with a dark face. He thought with his feet and knew that this was Tsunagakure launching an attack on Konoha. But Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't figure out why Tsunagakure did this. Moreover, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't figure it out, where do they get their self-confidence? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 124. Kazekage. Haha. Sarutobi-sensei, you are really old. Orochimaru sneered, and while holding Sarutobi Hiruzen, he instantly jumped to the roof. At the same time, Orochimaru's four sound ninjas also instantly appeared on the four corners of the roof, and at the same time cast the four purple flames of the barrier formation, covering the entire roof in the barrier, so that outsiders will not disturb Lord Orochimaru's next actions. Mr. Sarutobi. When Hiruzen Sarutobi heard this title, he was stunned for an instant. Followed closely, he looked at the Yondaime Kazekage who was holding him hostage in disbelief. Are you Orochimaru? Orochimaru sneered and took off his disguise, throwing away the Kazekage hat on his head, revealing his true face. What? Is that Orochimaru? S-class rebel ninja Orochimaru? How could he pretend to be Kazekage? Not good. Lord Hokage was kidnapped by Orochimaru, this is terrible. Outside the four purple flame formation, the Umbu who were responsible for protecting Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Orochimaru's true appearance in the barrier, and their faces under the masks also changed one after another. If we say, the fourth generation Kazekage, if the Hokage-sama who won't really hurt them has any scruples, then a rebellious ninja like Orochimaru really won't have any scruples. After all, he is a rebellious ninja of Konoha, and he has already offended Konoha to death. As the saying goes, those who are barefoot are not afraid of wearing shoes. Even if Orochimaru really kills Sarutobi Hiruzen, what can Konoha do to him? At most, the bounty will be increased. That's all. That's it? You can't devote all your efforts to the whole village to hunt down Orochimaru all over the world, right? You know it's impossible for Konoha to do that. After all, there are too many ninja villages in the ninja world staring at Konoha. The other four major countries, the ninja villages, all wish that Konoha's power is weakened. If Konoha really sends a large number of ninjas to hunt down Orochimaru, then the other four ninja villages will definitely take the opportunity to take action. Orochimaru, what on earth do you want to do? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked with a dark face. He really regretted this time. He regretted that he should not have been so merciful and let Orochimaru go. You know, when Orochimaru sentenced the village, he was Sarutobi Hiruzen's age. He was far from as old as he is now, and his strength was still at its peak at that time. If he had wanted to, Orochimaru would not have been able to escape from Konoha. But it was because Sarutobi Hiruzen was soft-hearted. That's why he let him escape. He killed Orochimaru. As a result, more than 10 years later, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally suffered the consequences for his actions back then. Want to do something? Orochimaru sneered and stuck out his long tongue, which made Sarutobi Hiruzen feel sick. He didn't know how he taught Orochimaru, a traitor. Even if he was rebellious, he still ended up like this. What a disgusting ninjutsu. Apparently Orochimaru was quite cute when he was a child. If there is a purpose, it's probably because I don't like motionless things. Sarutobi Hiruzen's head was filled with questions. Don't like motionless things? What do you mean? What has Orochimaru learned outside these years? Has he become so philosophical when he speaks now? Listen completely. I don't understand. Orochimaru looked at his teacher with disdain. In my eyes, Konoha now is like a motionless windmill. I want it to spin, instead of being lifeless like it is now. Orochimaru explained his concept to his teacher thoughtfully. But Hiruzen Sarutobi still didn't understand. You want the windmill to turn, what does that have to do with Hiruzen Sarutobi? Why do you want to hold me hostage? Also, looking at the ninjas of Tsunagaku and Konoha who were already fighting below, Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't understand even more. Orochimaru, it's yours. Sarutobi Hiruzen can only think that Orochimaru has finally driven himself crazy. He has done so much research on human bodies over the years. God knows if he has done anything to his body. Maybe he accidentally blew his head. It's broken. That's why these inexplicable thoughts come out. What about windmills, what's motionless? It's all crazy talk. Am I crazy? Maybe. Orochimaru shook his head with a disappointed look on his face. Ajah, in the end, his dear teacher still failed to understand his true thoughts. This was so disappointing to him. But at the same time, it also strengthened Orochimaru's idea. Sarutobi-sensei is really too old. I am so old that I can no longer keep up with this era. Brush. Brush. Several figures also appeared outside the four purple flame formation at this time. What happened? Why not rescue Lord Hokage? No, this is the four purple flame formation, and there is no way our people can break it. Hurry up and think of a way to rescue Lord Hokage. Actually, I don't think we need to do anything at all. The third Hokage is the strongest Hokage, and Orochimaru is just a handful, right? After hearing what this Umbu said, several other Jonin present looked at each other, as if asking each other who is this fool? Could anyone be so naive as to think that Hiruzen Sarutobi is the strongest Hokage in the ninja school textbook, so he really is the strongest Hokage, right? No way. No way. It is true, when he was young, Sarutobi Hiruzen did have the strength to defeat Orochimaru. But now Sarutobi Hiruzen is old. The strength of a ninja does not get stronger with age. On the contrary, once a ninja passes that peak period, his strength will only become weaker and weaker as he gets older. Sarutobi Hiruzen is already in his 70s this year. He's long past his prime. Now let alone face Orochimaru, some Jounin are still maliciously speculating in their hearts, can their Sandaime Hokage be able to defeat an elite Jounin? Therefore, if they really did what this Umbu said, they might as well just watch from the outside and do nothing. That would be like sending Sarutobi Hiruzen to death. Oh no. A large number of enemies suddenly appeared outside the village. At this time, a special Jounin suddenly ran over and said anxiously. Is it Tsunagaku and those sound ninjas? Nara. Shikaku looked at this person and asked. This special Jounin nodded and said yes, but most of them are Tsunagaku people, and there are also many big snakes. Needless to say, those big snakes must have been created by Orochimaru. This guy is the best at playing with snakes in the ninja world. Sorry, we have to stop the intruders first, and I'll leave this to you. Nara Shikaku said to the several Umbu present, and then he took the others and rushed towards the outskirts of the village. As for the safety of Hokage-sama? To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. It is still the village now, safety is more important. As for Hokage-sama, then wish yourself good luck. Anyway, they can't break the four purple flame formation if they stay here, so they might as well spend more energy on the other side. At least you can protect the village and civilians, right? Watching Nara Shikaku and others leave, the Umbu who were left here looked at me and I looked at you, and for a moment they looked at each other speechless. What do we do now? Someone asked. We just have to watch. Lord Hokage can definitely kill Orochimaru, he is the strongest Hokage. The Umbu said before. He looked full of confidence in their Sandaime Hokage. The others thought for a while and nodded in agreement. Then let's watch the show. Illusion, solution. Brush. A figure appeared in the stands of these players. Kakashi, who rushed over, immediately lifted the genjutsu on everyone. Of course, in fact, not many people were affected by the genjutsu. For example, people like Ryosuke Yagamai, like Hinata and the others, they didn't get hit much. Ino has a strong mental power and is naturally resistant to genjutsu. Hinata's strength has improved, and Yagamai Ryosuke has trained her on genjutsu. Resistance, she was taught how to deal with genjutsu type ninjas, so she didn't get hit. And Xianglin simply relied on her powerful perception ability to discover the influence of genjutsu early on, and then directly used the huge chakra in her body to resist. Breaking through this illusion. After all, Yakushi Kabuto and the others only used a large-scale group illusion. It has a large impression range and wide coverage. But the shortcomings are also obvious. It is okay to deal with ordinary genin and ordinary people, but most of them, even a Chuunin, can easily dispel this illusion. Ryosuke Yagamai, Naruto, and Sasuke, I now give you a mission. Kakashi said with a serious look on his face. Sorry, please forgive me for refusing. I have to send them back now and I don't have time to accept your mission, Kakashi. Ryosuke Yagamai directly rejected Kakashi's mission. He knew what Kakashi wanted them to do, which was to chase Gaara and his party. But Ryosuke Yagamai had no time. He had more important things to do now. Things had to be done. Hearing that Yagamai Ryosuke refused his mission without hesitation, Kakashi had no choice but to look at Naruto and the others. Kakashi-sensei, let's do it. Naruto raised his hands and shouted. Seeing this, Kakashi could only nod his head and agreed to let Naruto and Sasuke take the others to carry out this mission. And here, Ryosuke Yagamai also took the Hinata and the other three walked towards the outside of the venue. Kid, take your life. A few sand ninjas rushed up without knowing whether to live or die, their murderous looks frightened Ino and the others. Court death. Ryosuke Yagamai's eyes narrowed. In the next second, several shadows rushed out like lightning. In an instant, the sand ninjas rushing up in front of them immediately bowed their heads. Their heads and bodies separated, and they fell to the ground with a few thuds. Fell to the ground. As for Yagamai Ryosuke, with the thought in his mind, more shadows rushed out from under his feet, covering a large area around him. Wherever he passed, whether he was a Chuunin or a Jounin, everyone was there was no way to escape the ruthless slaughter of these shadows under his hands. For a moment, the Konoha ninjas who were still fighting against these enemies were stunned. They watched the shadows on the ground rushing up, and then they seemed to have knives in their hands. With such a look, he slashed directly on the shadows of those ninjas. While the shadows were missing their heads, the ninjas themselves were also missing their heads. What kind of ninjutsu is this? It seems to be the ninjutsu used by that kid over there. Is it the Nara family's secret shadow technique? It doesn't look like it. Killing the enemy directly by beheading the shadow. Who can resist such a ninjutsu? No solution. Fortunately, this guy is our Konoha ninja. The surrounding Konoha ninjas all looked at Ryosuke Yagamai, who was leaving with Hinata and the others. The surrounding area was like cutting wheat, and enemies fell one after another. All of them had their heads cut off, and their heads were missing. And die. Shikamaru, how come Ryosuke knows your secret shadow technique? Inyazuka Kiba, who didn't know when he ran here, asked in confusion. Others also looked at Shikamaru subconsciously. Our Nara family's secret shadow technique is not that titanium-like. Shikamaru smiled bitterly and said, I don't know what ninjutsu it is, but it is definitely not the secret shadow technique of our Nara family. Isn't it? Everyone looked at the four Yagamai Ryosuke who had disappeared over there in surprise. This guy, he has never shown such ability. Kakashi squinted his eyes, feeling vaguely in his heart. It seemed that he had never really understood Ryosuke Yagamai in the past. What he showed seemed to be what he wanted them to see, and he didn't want them to see it. What they saw, he never showed. But why did he suddenly show these abilities again today? Kakashi thought about many things at once. He didn't know if his guess was correct. But he could realize that there must be some huge trouble behind this matter. With his character, he just thought about it for a moment and didn't want to delve into it any further. Anyway, Ryosuke Yagamai had no intention of judging the village. As long as he was still a ninja of Konoha, nothing else mattered. He is Kakashi Hatake, not Hiruzen Sarutobi or Danzo Shimura. He does not need to worry about the ninjas in his village being too strong. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 125. Come out of the venue. Ryosuke Yagamai didn't know how many enemies his shadow had killed. He only knew that the number of shadows he controlled had increased from a dozen to hundreds. The dense shadows moved within a radius of 300 meters with him as the center. As long as he encounters enemies, he will kill them all with one sword. Very few people can block the attacks of his shadow men. In fact, it is very simple to resist the attack of shadow, that is, hide your own shadow. For example, if you are fast, you can directly avoid the shadow's attack. Your shadow will move with you. If you avoid it, it will naturally mean that your shadow has escaped, and you will not be hurt. The other is to run under a bigger shadow. Then your shadow will disappear. The shadow controlled by Ryosuke Yagamai cannot enter that area, and naturally cannot hurt you. But these Sand Ninja and Sound Ninja didn't know this. This ability of Ryosuke Yagamai is unknown to them. With no information in hand, he naturally didn't know how to resist, and was caught off guard for a moment. As soon as he walked out of the venue, Ryosuke Yagamai met Hinata with Hinata Hanabi. At this time, Hinata Hisashi was fighting against 3 Suna ninjas on the opposite side. The strength of these 3 sand ninjas are all jounin, and one of them is an elite jounin, which is only not much weaker than Hinata Hinashi. 1 against 3, plus the need to protect the little daughter. For a while, Hinata were also at a disadvantage. It's the father. When Hinata saw that her father was in danger, she subconsciously wanted to rush to help. Give it to me. Ryosuke Yagamai put his hand on Hinata's shoulder, and then took action himself, appearing behind the 2 Suna ninja jonin almost instantly. 2 swords flashed. These 2 jonins from Sunagakura village. Before he could react, Ryosuke Yagamai was killed with a knife. What? The Suna ninja, the only remaining elite jonin, was also shocked by this scene. But Ryosuke Yagamai did not give him a chance. The next second, a blade of light flashed in front of this elite jonin's eyes. He subconsciously wanted to resist, but his mind was confused for a moment. When he recovered, his head was in a different place. Genjutsu and Jutsu. This is not the dance of the 3 suns and moons between the second Hokage Senju Tobirama, but the night god Ryosuke's own swordsmanship move. He abandoned the flashiness of Mikazuki dance and directly used speed to coordinate with the moment of trance caused by illusion, giving the enemy a fatal blow. This move was created by Ryosuke Yagamai after he obtained the entry Shadow Swordsman, the swordsmanship moves that came out. The swordsmanship itself is enough to be rated as A. Coupled with the bonus of the entry, even if Hatake Sakumo is reincarnated, he will be defeated in a pure swordsmanship competition. Now, on Yagamai Ryosuke, regardless of whether it is ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, blood inheritance, or swordsmanship, none of them are below the peak of the shadow level. Most of them are at the super shadow level. If the ninjutsu turns on the sage mode, it will be directly at the quasi 6th level. There are no shortcomings in him anymore. Even the weakest one is at a level that others will find difficult to reach in their lifetime. Hinata Hinashi looked at Yagamai Ryosuke, who easily eliminated the 3 sand ninjas. He didn't know how to speak for a moment and just felt that most of his life had been in vain. Even worse than a 12-year-old kid. Wow. Brother-in-law, you are so awesome. Hinata was so surprised that she couldn't speak, but Hinata Hanabi, who was protected behind him, shouted out directly. He said brother-in-law, which made Ryusuke Yagamai's favorability towards the sister-in-law soar. Are you Hanabi? Your sister often mentions you to me, and you are indeed very smart. Ryusuke Yagamai smiled and praised this girl. Brother-in-law, you are really awesome. Hinata Hanabi, who was praised, also said with a happy smile. It's nothing, they're just too weak. Ryusuke Yagamai said. Hinata Hinashi. No, what do you mean? Are they too weak? So who am I? A weakling among weaklings. Certainly. Hinata Hizu is definitely not a weakling among weaklings. The reason why he was at a disadvantage just now was purely because he needed to protect his young daughter. If he really didn't have any worries, with his quasi-cage level strength, he would have no problem killing these 3 sand ninjas 1 against 3. The village is in chaos now. I'll take you back. Ryusuke Yagamai didn't notice that he accidentally injured Hinata Hizatsu's old father-in-law again. In view of the current situation in the village, he also proposed to escort them back by himself. Yet, Hinata and Hinata haven't agreed yet, but Hanabi has already clapped her hands happily and agreed. This made Hinata feel embarrassed, but she could only nod and agree. But her face didn't look too good. He looks good. Yagamai Ryusuke didn't care. He was not a good person in the eyes of this old father-in-law. After all, it was strange for someone who cheated his little cotton-padded jacket to have a good face. Let's go then. Ryusuke Yagamai said. The distance from the venue of the 3rd Chunin exam to the Hyuga clan is not very far. Ryusuke Yagamai cleared the way along the way. Those sand ninjas and sound ninjas who entered the village were not at all unable to get close to them. We arrived at the Hyuga tribe without any danger along the way. Ino, you and Xiangren will stay with the Hyuga clan for the time being. I will come to pick you up when the matter is over. Ryusuke Yagamai said to Ino and Kaoru. Now in the whole of Konoha, the safest place should be the clan of the Hyuga clan. First of all, the Hyuga clan has enough people. There are many Chuyunin and Jounin, which is enough. Resist incoming enemies. In addition, their Byakugan is best at detection, and they don't have to worry about being attacked from behind by Suna ninja and Sound ninja. By placing Kaoru and Ino here, Ryusuke Yagamai can rest assured. Of course. Even if something goes wrong, Ryusuke Yagamai has backup plans. One of his shadow clones is always watching nearby. If there is any danger, with Ryusuke Yagamai's speed, he can arrive in an instant. Here. Same thing, for his mother Yagamai Mitsuki, he has already made foolproof arrangements so that no accidents will happen. Ryusuke, won't you stay? Hinata and the others looked at Ryusuke Yagamai worriedly. I still have things to deal with, don't worry, these things can't hurt me at all. After Yagamai Ryusuke finished speaking, he nodded to Hinata Hinashi who was standing beside him, and then disappeared instantly. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Okay, don't worry, with this kid's strength, those intruders can't do anything to him. Although Hinata Hisashi doesn't like this prospective son-in-law who doesn't save face for him, he has to admit that with the strength Yagamai Ryusuke just showed, these ninjas who invaded Konoha really can't do anything to him. Even if you are caught in an ambush, wouldn't it be easy to escape with the ability of the Flying Thunder God technique? Ryusuke will definitely be fine. Xiangren looked at Hinata and Ino beside her, and opened her mouth to comfort them both. After all, she had seen with her own eyes Ryusuke Yagamai destroying the entire Kusanagi village with just one ninjutsu. To put it harshly, with Yagamai with Ryusuke's strength, how long can a village like Konoha hold up in his hands? Those intruders who can't match the strength of the elite Jonin are simply giving away their lives. The Hokage building. Right in Yagami Ryo when Suke escorted Hinata and the others back to the Hyuga tribe, one of his wooden clones also appeared here. Even when the village was invaded by foreign enemies, there were still many ninjas guarding the Hokage building. After all, there are many villages hidden here. The top secret inside. Even treasures like the sealed book are stored here, so it is impossible for them to be left unattended. And the person in charge of guarding the Hokage is Sarutobi Asuma, the son of Sarutobi Hiruzen. This is at that time. Ryosuke Yagami's wooden clone was dressed as an Umbu ninja and quietly sneaked into the Hokage's office. I wonder if that old fellow Sarutobi Hiruzen placed the sealed book here. The wooden clone went directly over and opened the drawer of the desk. There was a crystal ball in the first drawer. It was the crystal ball that Hiruzen Sarutobi usually used to peek. Rubbish. The wooden clone threw the crystal ball aside and opened other drawers. But these drawers contained documents and the like, and there was no sealed book at all. Is it in these cabinets? The wooden clone went over and opened the cabinet door. As soon as he opened it, he saw a huge scroll placed in the cabinet. No, is it just left here? Are there no mechanisms, barriers, or anything like that? After the wooden clone was stunned for a moment, he immediately took out the sealed book from the cabinet. As soon as I took it out, I discovered that there was a stack of detonating talismans connected to the back of the sealed book. I knew it. The wooden clone had such an expression on his face. The next second, boom. An explosion directly shattered the entire cabinet, and also alerted the ninjas guarding the Hokage building. One after another figures surrounded this side. And in the smoke in the middle, the wooden clone holding the sealed book also slapped the ground with one hand. Earth escape. Split the earth and turn your palms. Asuma and others who had just rushed into the Hokage's office had not had time to see the intruder clearly. The entire Hokage building was split into pieces as the ground below cracked, and collapsed towards the ground. Careful! Asuma shouted loudly. He quickly rushed out of the Hokage's office and landed directly on the open space outside the Hokage building. A large area of land in front of him was covered by the earth release of the wooden clone, and the cracked earth tore apart the Hokage building. As a result, the entire building sank into the ground. Asuma watched the scene with a dark face. Ninja figures appeared around him, all of them from the Sarutobi clan, and each of them was at the Jonin level. There is no shortage of ninjas with the strength of 3 elite Jonin. These people looked at Asuma together, waiting for his order. Try to find. This intruder must be found. Asuma shouted with a dark face. His father gave him the task of guarding the Hokage building. This was an easy task in itself, but in the end, he watched helplessly as the intruders sank the entire Hokage building. He went underground. How could he explain this to his father? Asuma himself is a face-saving person, and now he can't even do such a small thing. Doesn't it prove from the side that he has no ability? He can only relying on the support of his father who is the Hokage. So, no matter what, he must find this intruder and take back from him the things he took away from the Hokage building. Asuma still doesn't know that he was taken away by the wooden clone. It's a sealed book. Otherwise, he might be even more anxious. I saw that person over there. Suddenly, a Jounin of the Sarutobi clan noticed a suspicious figure appearing nearby, with a huge scroll on his back. Asuma heard the words and looked over there, and immediately shouted, "That's it? Him, come on, catch him." As soon as he saw the scroll on the man's back, he recognized that it was the sealed book in the village. After all, this thing has been kept by the Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen all year round, and Asuma, as the son of Sarutobi Hiruzen, on weekdays, it can be said that you can read it whenever you want. Other Konoha ninjas need to make great contributions or have enough talent to read the sealed book, and they can only choose one of the ninjutsu to learn. As the son of the Hokage, Asuma can read any ninjutsu in the Book of Sealings. Sarutobi Hiruzen can be said to be good enough for his son. It's a pity that Asuma himself doesn't live up to his expectations. He has obviously got it. The best resource in Konoha is limited talent. Although Asuma is rated as an elite jounin in Konoha, in fact, his true strength is the level of a formal jounin. The reason why he can become an elite jounin shinobi was completely a backdoor opened by Hiruzen Sarutobi for his son. To be honest, if he hadn't been so disappointed in his youngest son, Hiruzen Sarutobi wouldn't have thought of training Konohamaru, his grandson. After all, it would be great to have my son become Hokage. He doesn't need to wait another 10 years, he can take the position directly, and then Konoha will still belong to their Sarutobi clan. But who can let Asuma fail? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 126. A group of jounin from the Sarutobi clan surrounded Ryusuke Yagamai's wooden clone. The wooden clone carrying the sealed book glanced at these people and was surprised to find that these people seemed to be ninjas from the Sarutobi clan. Haha. Hiruzen Sarutobi had really arranged it well. While others were working hard on the front line, the ninjas of the Sarutobi clan could stay in the Hokage building without going anywhere. The wooden clone sneered. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen could not predict the future, he had long known that Orochimaru had come to Konoha and had already appeared during the second Chunin exam. Therefore, he arranged for the Sarutobi clan to the ninjas guarding the Hokage building, but the venue for the third exam was handed over to other Konoha ninjas. Obviously this arrangement was deliberately arranged to reduce the casualties of his family's ninjas. In case Orochimaru really wants to do something, we will definitely take action against the venue of the third exam. As for the Hokage building, what is Orochimaru doing here? He doesn't want a sealed book. After all, he has seen this thing several times. Otherwise, where do you think he learned the art of earth reincarnation? When Orochimaru and Danzo were still in the honeymoon period, Danzo personally brought the Book of Seals to him, so that Orochimaru could help him study Hashirama cells and Sharinan. There are so many forbidden techniques in the Book of Sealings. Although Orochimaru can learn not many, he has memorized many of them. Therefore, the Book of Sealings is useless to him. Naturally, the Hokage building had no attraction for him. But Sarutobi Hiruzen never expected that. Orochimaru didn't care about the sealed book, but Ryusuke, the 653 god of the night, did. He thought he was infallible. Arrangement. In the end, he took the initiative to send the elite of the Sarutobi clan to Yagamai Ryusuke. To be precise, in front of his wooden clone. After all, Yagamai Ryusuke's true body is still heading to the Hyuga clan. On the way, hand over the sealed book. Asuma led this group of ninjas from the Sarutobi clan to surround the wooden clones. There are more than 20 jounin from the Sarutobi clan, many of whom are elite jounin. With such a lineup, even if the opponent has cage-level strength, the strongest man in the world has to come back defeated. Therefore, Asuma is very confident. He is not worried about overturning at all. If the car can overturn, he will just find a piece of tofu and hit him to death. However, facing the people who are surrounding him, 20 or so ninjas from the Sarutobi clan and the wooden clone of Ryusuke Yagamai calmly clasped their hands together, slapped them on the ground, and shouted, "Ice escape! All beasts attack!" What? Asuma's eyes widened, and he watched in surprise as countless frosts spread, followed by ferocious frost beasts roaring towards them and the ninjas of the Sarutobi clan. Ah! It's Ice Escape! Could this guy be the Minajiki clan of Kirigakure? Damn Kirigakure, how dare they! Everyone use fire to escape. The ninja that the ninjas of the Sarutobi clan are best at is actually fire escape. At this time, the more than 20 ninjas of the Sarutobi clan who surrounded the wooden clone instantly calmed down in panic and began to form seals and release a large number of fire escape ninjutsu towards them. These frost beasts attacked from the opposite side. However, just when they were confident that the fire escape could melt these frost beasts, they were horrified to find that these frost beasts were not that big after breaking through the fire escape barrier. Change. It was just a small amount of shrinkage that was invisible to the naked eye. The next second, hundreds of giant frost beasts trampled past. Although these ninjas of the Sarutobi clan were all very powerful, but facing this a group of nearly invincible frost behemoths could only flee for their lives in embarrassment. Those who could not escape would be killed by the frost behemoths on the spot, or be frozen into ice sculptures by the power of ice. The wooden clone watched the scene with cold eyes, glanced around and then waved one hand. Large ice crystals condensed into ice konoha, and thousands of ice konoha shot toward the escaping ninjas. In an instant, the screams became one. In just a moment, the 20-odd ninjas of the Sarutobi clan who had just surrounded them fiercely were already dead and injured. Those who were still standing even had one hand. You can count them all. Fire escapes. Ashes accumulate and burn. Asuma rushed to the back of the wooden clone under the cover of 2 elite jounin of the Sarutobi clan. He spit out a ball of scorching ash from his mouth. At the same time, the 2 elite jounin responsible for covering him also used seals. Fire escape fire dragon flame bombs were fired, blasting towards the back of the wooden clone. However, in the next second, an ice wall rose from the ground, blocking the attack of the 3 people. When the ice wall shattered, there was no figure of the wooden clone in front of it. No, when Asuma and the other 3 moved their positions, the wooden clone appeared above their heads. Ice escape. Ice spear. An ice spear appeared in the wooden clone's hand, and the spear shot away in an instant. It penetrated the body of an elite jounin of the Sarutobi clan. The blood was frozen the moment it was sprayed out, forming ruby-like ice crystals that fell to the ground. Brush. The wooden clone dodged and rushed to another Sarutobi clan. In front of the elite jounin, a Konoha whirlwind knocked him back. At the same time, with a wave of his right hand, an ice spike instantly extended and penetrated his chest like lightning. Fire escape. Fire. On one side, Asuma formed a seal with his hands and was about to use fire release to kill Mu's clone at close range. Then the next second a hand covered his head. The frost spread. In an instant, Asuma was frozen into an ice sculpture before he could release his ninjutsu. Standing in place lifelike. Brush. Wearing a black windbreaker and a white mask, Yagami Ryusuke appeared in front of the wooden clone and took the sealed book from the wooden clone's hand. The scroll was opened, and Ryusuke Yagami confirmed that it was a real sealed book before putting it away. Your mission is over, he said to the wooden clone. The wooden clone nodded, and then took the initiative to disperse, leaving a big tree rising from the ground. Yagami Ryusuke glanced at the messy scene around him, and then disappeared in an instant. The ground. On the roof, a purple flame array enveloped the entire roof. At this time, inside the barrier, Orochimaru was saying his final farewell to his teacher. After today, Konoha's motionless windmill will once again start spinning. The era of the Sandaime will also come to an end. At this time, Ryusuke Yagami's figure appeared outside the barrier. He glanced at the several Umbu ninjas over there who seemed to be watching a show, and a flash of light flashed in his eyes. There was a look of doubt. Why didn't these Umbu look anxious at all? This thought flashed through Yagami Ryusuke's mind, and he immediately stopped paying attention to the Umbu ninjas. He grabbed the barrier in front of him with both hands. The 4 purple flame formation. The effect is to cause those who come into contact to burn instantly. The terrifying purple flame can burn everything, second only to the flames of Amaterasu. But as we all know, Amaterasu has never burned anyone to death. But the flames of the 4 purple flames really burn. He's dead. He's tried before without fear of death. And then he was burned to death. But at this time, Yagami Ryusuke's hands were covered with a layer of chakra, and the flames kept burning the chakra attached to his hands. Chakra is being consumed crazily, but it is far inferior to Ryusuke Yagami's output. Open it for me. Ryusuke Yagami suddenly tore his hands apart, directly tearing a hole on the surface of the four purple flame formation. Then he walked in. The hole behind him quickly closed. And the four sound ninjas who presided over the four purple flame formation, everyone, at this time, the expressions also changed. Lord Orochimaru, someone broke in. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. The four people immediately informed Orochimaru of the news. Orochimaru, who was fighting with his teacher, also frowned when he heard the words, and then immediately used a move to force him. He backed away from Sarutobi Hiruzen in front of him, then stepped back a distance and looked over there. Umbu Ninja. The first time Orochimaru saw the other party, he thought it was an Umbu Ninja who had broken in, but after a closer look, it was obvious that the other party was not a ninja from Konoha Umbu. Instead, he was a masked man whose identity was unknown. Sarutobi Hiruzen also he found the other party and didn't know whether he was an enemy or a friend, but he didn't act rashly. Did you come in for something? Orochimaru doesn't want to cause trouble. His purpose is to kill his teacher and say goodbye to him. And the masked man in front of him, who knows if he will ruin his plan? I'm here to get something. Zero. Ryusuke Yagami spoke, his voice sounded eerie, completely different from his own voice. Sir, as long as you join hands with me to catch this traitorous ninja, no matter what you want, I can give it to you. Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately seized the opportunity and shouted. Is it? Hokage-sama is so generous. Ryusuke Yagami looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a faint look, and the latter couldn't help but feel a creepy feeling. This guy. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but feel a little nervous. At this time, Yagami Ryusuke also said quietly, so, what if I want your head, Hokage-sama? Sarutobi Hiruzen. Orochimaru. No, why are there still people snatching heads? Orochimaru looked at this man with a puzzled expression. Could this guy be another enemy provoked by the teacher outside? Or some ninja in the village? Subconsciously, Orochimaru thought of Ryusuke Yagami, whom he had met in the Forest of Death before. However, the feeling of the masked man in front of him was completely different from Ryusuke Yagami before. He didn't look like the same person. Do I have a grudge against you? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked with a dark face. Yagami Ryusuke shook his head. No grudge. Then why do you want to take my head off my neck? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked angrily. Since there is no hatred, are you going to take my head off my neck as soon as you come up? Okay, I'm actually kidding. Ryusuke Yagami smiled sinisterly. This, no matter how you look at it, it doesn't look like you're joking. Both Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen were looking at this unexpected intruder with fear. The fact that the opponent can break into the four purple flame formation is enough to illustrate his strength. It was impossible for Orochimaru and Sarutobi Hiruzen to be careless. Orochimaru, don't you want to give your teacher a ride? Why haven't you taken action yet? Ryusuke Yagami said suddenly. Orochimaru looked at him coldly and said nothing. The meaning was obviously very clear. With you, a guy who doesn't know whether he is an enemy or a friend, there is no way the two of them can fight. Seeing this, Yagami Ryusuke also shook his head in disappointment. Originally, he wanted to see the master-disciple fight at close range, but he couldn't help it if they didn't cooperate. Forget it, just grab your stuff and leave. Ryusuke Yagami thought. The next second, kaleidoscope, open. Illusion. Nightmare. The moment the kaleidoscope was opened, Ryusuke Yagami's eyes met with Sarutobi Hiruzen. At the same time, he used the characteristics of his kaleidoscope to the developed illusion nightmare was also activated accordingly. In an instant, Rao 2.7 was Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage, who was also caught in the attack instantly and was dragged into the world of illusion. This is comparable to Ryusuke Yagamai's previous experience in the Forest of Death. The illusion used on Orochimaru was much stronger. In fact, the illusion used by Ryusuke Yagamai on Orochimaru was a simplified version of the nightmare. The real illusion nightmare requires the cooperation of the Sharingan to be used. The greatest effect. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was dragged into the genjutsu at this time, was also shocked. What did he see? This unknown mysterious man had a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan. Is this guy a remnant of Uchiha? Sarutobi Hiruzen understands. Those who say they have no grudge against him are all lies. This guy is here to avenge the Uchiha clan. The remnant of the Uchiha, and the Uchiha who turned on the kaleidoscope. But why did he go there? Have you never heard of the existence of such a person? If there was such a clan member who turned on the kaleidoscope when the Uchiha clan was exterminated, would Itachi and Gen still be able to easily succeed in annihilating the clan? Or should I say, this person was born after the genocide incident awakened kaleidoscope? Then how did he escape the genocide? Afterwards, Hiruzen Sarutobi counted the corpses in the Uchiha clan and confirmed that all the Uchiha clan members were there, except Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke. In addition to brothers, there are many other Uchihas. So who is this person in front of me? Is it the secret weapon that Uchiha has hidden all this time? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 127. The moment Sarutobi Hiruzen was dragged into the world of illusion, Ryusuke Yagamai's figure appeared in front of him. Phew! A splash of blood splattered. A kunao in Ryusuke Yagamai's hand easily scratched Sarutobi Hiruzen's cheek, and a hideous centipede-like wound appeared on Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face. He collected a drop of Sarutobi Hiruzen's blood and immediately let the system directly transform it. Ding! Conversion successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent entry, the strongest Hokage, purple. System, you are naughty again. Ryusuke Yagamai looked at this transformed talent entry and couldn't help but smile. The strongest Hokage, isn't this what Sarutobi Hiruzen calls himself? Immediately, he found the properties of this new entry and checked. The strongest Hokage, purple in the textbooks of the ninja school, you are recorded as the strongest Hokage in Konoha under your leadership. The village is developing rapidly, the people live a prosperous and peaceful life, and countless people praise you for your achievements. Even Uchiha Madara is willing to call you the most shameless. The name of the strongest Hokage is well deserved. Ninjutsu power at 400%. Face thickness at 500%. Comes with Will of Fire. Will of Fire, when you explain your will of fire to others, you can make them more convinced. How to say? This entry cannot be said to be useless, at least the attribute of the power of ninjutsu is quite useful. But the other attributes are really useless. What thickness of skin does Yagamai Ryusuke need? What does he want from the will of fire? Fortunately, there is also a ninjutsu power bonus. Otherwise, this broken entry will be like the strongest pot shadow and can only be synthesized. Equipped with the entry the strongest Hokage, Yagamai Ryusuke also disappeared in a flash. Then he took the initiative to remove the genjutsu from Hiruzen Sarutobi. If he didn't remove it, with Sarutobi Hiruzen's ability, he would never be able to get rid of this illusion for the rest of his life. As soon as he was freed from the influence of the genjutsu, Sarutobi Hiruzen weakly knelt down on one knee on the roof. The whole person was breathing heavily. Cold sweat, looking like exhausted. Who are you, the remnants of the Uchiha? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yagamai Ryusuke with horrified eyes. What? Orochimaru was startled, and subconsciously looked into the other person's eyes. Sure enough, he saw a pair of kaleidoscopes that he had never seen before. A kaleidoscope like Ataka. Orochimaru's eyes flashed with greed, but he soon thought of the memory of being killed instantly by Ataka, and his face suddenly turned gloomy again. Damn it! The Sharingan is like a 10-point weapon against him. Uchiha's hatred has nothing to do with me, so you don't have to worry that I will attack you because of Uchiha. Ryosuke Yagami sneered and said. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Do you want to listen to what you are saying? Haven't you already taken action? But in fact, Ryosuke Yagami was right. He attacked Hiruzen Sarutobi in order to seize his biological pheromones to transform his talent entries. Not for any Uchiha. You guys go on, I'm leaving. Ryosuke Yagami has got what he wants. And if he continues to stay here, these two guys are afraid that they will not be able to fight. So he simply turned around and left. As soon as he left, whether it was Orochimaru or Sarutobi, if you kill him, you will no longer be cautious about his existence. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen has just been hit by one of his illusions, and he is also being tortured now. Not to mention that his combat power is greatly damaged. But it is definitely the impact is not small. I wonder if he can seal Orochimaru's hands in the end? Or is he planning to seal something else this time? Like 10 fingers or something? Using the same method to tear apart the 4 purple flame formation, Yagami Ryosuke returned directly to the outside of the barrier. As soon as he came out, he was surrounded by a group of Umbu ninjas. Stop! Ryosuke Yagami didn't have time to mess around with these Umbu ninjas. Genjutsu. Destroy God. With a sweep of the kaleidoscope, all the dozen Umbu in front of him were dragged into the illusion in an instant. The next second, these Umbu seemed to be lost. As smart as he was, he just took the kunao and cut his own neck. Then he fell to the ground with a weird smile on his face. They were all dead. The Genjutsu God Destroyer is an Genjutsu casually developed by Ryosuke Yagami. It sounds like it looks powerful, but in fact it is a kind of magical skill of torturing vegetables. If it is used to deal with those ninjas who are extremely determined and whose strength is around the shadow level, it will have almost no effect. But if it is used to deal with these shadow level ninjas, the following ninjas are almost accurate in their use. They directly deprive each other of their consciousness, let them sink into the illusion, and act according to Ryosuke Yagami's will. It's like just now, Ryosuke Yagami made them commit collective suicide. Without any effort, with just a little effort, this group of Umbu ninjas were finished. Brush. Ryosuke Yagami's figure disappeared instantly. A dozen Umbu corpses with strange dead appearances were left behind. It wasn't until a while later that Konoha's ninjas came over. These corpses were discovered. At this time, Ryosuke Yagami had already disappeared. Everywhere in the village, the invading Sand Ninja and Oto ninjas could be seen fighting with the Konoha ninjas. Among them, in the village in the area near the barrier, there are several huge snakes that are destroying the buildings in the village wantonly. Come on, give them all to me. Fire escape. Fire dragon flame bullet. Wind escape. Vacuum jade. Secret technique. Shadow binding technique. A large number of ninjas rushed towards the big snakes that were wreaking havoc. But these big snakes have rough skin and thick flesh, and their blood bars are surprisingly thick. In addition, there were a large number of sand ninjas around to block Konoha's ninjas, which also made it impossible for them to kill these big snakes for a while. At this time, Shadow suddenly appeared on the ground. Shadow swung his sword and killed dozens of shadow ninjas in an instant. The strange thing is that the shadows of these sand ninjas who were killed turned out to be like their shadows, their bodies and heads were instantly replaced. The Konoha ninja who was fighting with them just now looked stunned. Brush. At this time, Ryosuke Yagami appeared on the scene holding a ninja sword with the power of the Shadow Eater sword. This is actually one of his wooden clones, and the shadow-eating sword was given to the wooden clone by Ryosuke Yagami. It can just use the power of the shadow-eating sword to kill enemies. Ryosuke Yagami plans to separate his own abilities from those of his other identity, Uzumaki Menma. Even the Mangekyo Sharingan himself will not show it when he appears as Yagami Ryosuke. As for the mother? Is it possible that his own mother will betray him? So don't worry about this. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. At this time, the wooden clone wearing the identity of Ryosuke Yagami wants to show his ability to control shadows. This ability alone is enough to give the wooden clone a shadow-level strength. It is more than enough to deal with these intruders. Evacuate the surrounding people quickly. The wooden clone said loudly to the surrounding Konoha ninjas who were still in a daze. Huh. Ah. By the way, evacuate the crowd? These stunned Konoha ninjas reacted instantly and quickly escorted the surrounding Konoha residents to retreat to the rear. At this time, Yamanaka Hiki and Akimichi Dingza, who happened to be dispatching at the scene, also came to the side of the wooden clone. Ryosuke, do you have a way to deal with these big snakes? Yan Zonghai asked. Let me try. The wooden clone didn't say too much. Then hundreds of shadows flew out from under his feet, fast enough to make the elite Jounin couldn't help but look sideways. The next second, dense attacks fell on the shadows of those big snakes go up. If the attack of a single shadow cannot kill these big snakes in an instant, then if hundreds of shadows attack at the same time, no matter how rough and thick these snakes are, they cannot avoid being killed in an instant. In an instant. They were still wantonly. Just now these big snakes that were destroying the buildings in the village were directly strangled by the shadows. Their huge bodies were chopped into several sections and crashed to the ground. Seems pretty simple. The wooden clone said lightly. Hi and Kyudeo Ding seat in the mountain. Is this guy so strong? The two looked at him with surprised expressions. Such a big snake with rough skin and thick flesh was all killed in an instant. This is something they never expected. Fire escape. Big flame bullet. Boom. A huge explosion sounded in the distance. Jiraiya instantly killed several invading sand ninjas, and then rushed here. Oh. It seems to have been solved. You guys did a great job. Jiraiya looked at the dead snakes on the ground and said to Yamanaka Hiki and others. Hearing this, Yamanaka Hiki smiled bitterly and said, this is not our fault, it is all Ryosuke's fault. He did it alone. Oh. It's you little brat. Jiraiya looked at Yagami Ryosuke's wooden clone in surprise. Even he didn't realize that the one in front of him was actually a clone, not the real Yagami Ryosuke. Sure. Did you learn this secret technique from the Nara clan? Jiraiya looked at the shadows that were still strangling the enemies around him and asked curiously. Take it from me, I did get inspiration from the shadow secret technique of the Nara clan. The wooden clone said. Brush. At this moment, Nara Shikaku's figure just arrived here. When he heard the wooden clone's words, he couldn't help but smile bitterly and said the shadow secret technique of our Nara clan does not have the secret technique of yours. This is strong, Ryosuke, thanks to you this time. Nara Shikaku is the commander-in-chief of this Konoha defense battle. He has just made a rough calculation. The invaders killed by Yagami Ryosuke alone with his shadow secret technique have accounted for 70% of the total number of invaders. In other words, he killed more enemies alone than all the other Konoha ninjas combined. This is too exaggerated. Even the Konoha White Fang, Yellow Flash 840, and Nara Shikaku did not. I think it's such an exaggeration. Of course. This is mainly because there are enough shadows of Yagami Ryosuke. They have been killed so far, and their number has expanded from a dozen at the beginning to more than 700 today. In other words, death the ninjas in the hands of these shadows are already more than 700 years old. One can imagine how much the losses of Tsunagakure and Sound Ninja were. However, it is a pity. The effect of the Shadow Eater sword seems to be only effective on humanoid targets. Just killed the big snakes killed had no effect, and their shadows were not within the swallowing range of the shadow devouring sword. I am also the village ninja, this is what I should do. The wooden clone said with an awe-inspiring expression. Well done, you kid really made me see it right. Jiraiya laughed and slapped the wooden clone on the shoulder. Fortunately, it was a wooden clone. If it were a shadow clone, it would be gone with just one slap. By the way, how's it going with the old man? Now that he was free, Jiraiya finally had the time to care about his teacher's situation. Not too optimistic, Orochimaru is very strong, and after all, Hokage is old and his strength is no longer at its peak. Narashikaku said. A mysterious man appeared just now. He was wearing a mask, but Lord Hokage said that he was a remnant of the Uchiha clan, and that man had the Mangekyo Sharingan, which was very powerful. Uchiha, Jiraiya frowned. He really didn't know what to say about this matter. It was certainly wrong for Uchiha to want to launch a rebellion. But Jiraiya knew very well that the reason why Uchiha did this was because he was betrayed by the village. He was forced out by the top management of Konoha. After all, he is also one of the founding families of Konoha. You have bullied him again and again, and he is not a fool, so how can he not be angry? However, Jiraiya and Uchiha, my relationship is average and I don't have any familiar friends. It's Uchiha's. Therefore, if he really had to take sides on this matter, he would still choose to side with the village. Now that he heard that another Uchiha remnant had appeared and had awakened the legendary eyes, Jiraiya couldn't help but take it seriously. What did that Uchiha do? Jiraiya asked. He used an illusion on Lord Hokage and killed more than a dozen Umbu ninjas with the illusion. This man's illusion ability was so terrifying that ordinary elite Jounin could not resist it. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 128. Narashikaku also came to this conclusion from the analysis of the corpses of the dead Umbu. Together with the Hokage, they can get rid of the other party's illusions. Therefore, he judged that the other party's illusions are a threat to the elite Jounin. But in fact, Sarutobi Hiruzen was embarrassed to say that he could not get rid of the opponent's illusion at all, so Narashikaku made a wrong judgment. Otherwise, Narashikaku might be even more worried now. After all, a Genjutsu ninja who can't even resist a shadow-level powerhouse like Naruto, the threat is absolutely fatal. For those of them who are not cage-level ninjas yet, wouldn't it be like seeing one every second? Can even an elite Jounin find it difficult to resist? Jiraiya frowned. In this case, it is indeed very difficult. But it doesn't make him feel helpless. Do you know where the other person is now? Jiraiya asked. Narashikaku shook his head. He really didn't know this. Forget it, ignore him for now, deal with these intruders first. Jiraiya also sighed when he saw Narashikaku shaking his head, and decided to deal with these intruders in the village first, and then discuss the matter about the Uchiha remnant. At least for the time being, it seems that it is better to deal with these intruders first. The most important thing. Ryusuke, are you interested in competing with me to see which of us has killed more intruders? Jiraiya suddenly smiled and said to Ryusuke Yagami next to him. What did you say? The wooden clone glanced at Jiraiya. At the same time, his shadows also killed the last few sand ninjas around him, and then hundreds of dense shadows all returned to his shadow. Jiraiya. Damn it! Why did you kill everyone? Leave a few for me. Jiraiya had a depressed expression on his face. What he just said was a competition to see who could kill more. Now it seems like this is still worth comparing? You can tell without even comparing. Outside Konoha, in a dense forest. Boom! A sudden loud noise echoed throughout the forest. The next second, countless sands gathered together to form a huge figure. The surrounding trees seemed very small in front of this huge figure. What kind of monster is that? Oops. Gaara is completely out of control. Sasuke looked at the monster that suddenly appeared in shock, while Kankuro and Tamari's expressions changed with shock, and they subconsciously retreated a distance. As ninjas from Sunagakura village, they know me very well. The consequences of Gaara's rampage. Right now, Gaara, who was supposed to be rampaging in Konoha village, is instead rampaging in the forest outside the village. This is obviously not in line with their original plan. But the plan itself has certain consequences. The problem is, Tamari and Kankuro are completely helpless at this moment. Facing the rampaging Gaara, he is an existence that no one in his family recognizes. They don't dare to get close at all. Stinky Fox, is this the one-tailed Shikaku you are talking about? On a tree, Naruto looked at the monster in front of him, but his face did not have a shocked expression like Sasuke's. After all, he had seen the nine tails in his body countless times in the past year or so. Compared to the Kyuubi, the one-tailed Shikaku in front of him is nothing. Note, the height settings of the tailed beasts are very confusing. This book uniformly sets the heights of the nine-tailed beasts to be similar. Take the Kyuubi 100-meter height, for example, all move around this value. Although the body shape is similar, the one-tailed Shikaku in front of me is about 80 meters tall, but in terms of momentum, it is far inferior to the nine-tailed one. Not at all an order of magnitude. Trash Shikaku, he is the most embarrassing one among our nine-tailed beasts. Naruto boy, I will give you the power, you go and kill him. In the sealed space, Kyuubi also saw Ichibai Shikaku's figure through Naruto's eyes, and couldn't help but show contempt. In Kyuubi's view, this guy Ichibai is the disgrace of the tailed beasts. Chakra at least is not enough. The standard attack of their leader is the tailed beast Jade. It turns out that what Ichibai Shikaku likes to use the most is the wind release training blank bullet. What kind of garbage is that? So, when I saw Ichibai Shikaku like this, the arrogant look made Kyuubi very unhappy. Without even a moment's hesitation, he directly lent his power to Naruto. Let Naruto use his power to defeat the one-tailed Shikaku. Stinky Fox, do you have any grudge against this one-tailed Shikaku? Naruto blinked in surprise. Normally, he wanted to borrow some chakra from Kyuubi, but Kyuubi always resisted. But today, he took the initiative to lend him power. Is the sun coming out from the west? What nonsense, just say whether you want it or not. The Kyuubi didn't bother to explain. He actually doesn't have any grudge against the Ichibai. It's just that Ichibai Shikaku needs a beating. He likes to have sex. Among the nine-tailed beasts, he has the worst relationship with the Ichibai. Of course. The relationship between the other leaders and Ichio is not that good either. This guy is the type who loves to play more as he gets more sophisticated. He is obviously the most rubbish in strength, but he likes to talk a lot. Every time he fails to win, he has the toughest mouth. And he also likes to brag about his power behind his back. So Kyuubi despises this guy the most. If you want it, you must give me strength, Stinky Fox. Naruto has long wanted to try the power of the nine tails, but this Stinky Fox has never given it, so he has never had the chance to try it. But this guy, the nine tails, is always talking in his ears about the power of the tailed beast. No matter how strong he is, the Jinchuriki should learn how to use the power of the tailed beast. Naruto knew with his butt that the Stinky Fox was deliberately irritating him. But he couldn't do anything about it. Finally, today the Stinky Fox took the initiative to borrow. How could Naruto not want to give him power? He had long wanted to try how powerful the tailed beast that Kyuubi said could be. Remember, you can only use the power of 3 tails at most. Once you use 4 tails, your will go berserk, and even I can't do anything about it. Kyuubi reminded the brat before lending his power to Naruto. After all, the tailed beasts and the Jinchuriki both prospered and died. Once Naruto completely goes berserk and dies, Kyuubi himself will also disappear. Although the tailed beast can be resurrected, it will take a long time, and Kyuubi doesn't want that. Being sealed and losing freedom is already very miserable. Now he has to completely lose consciousness. Wouldn't that be even worse? So, Kyuubi would take the initiative to remind Naruto because he really couldn't stop Naruto from going berserk. In the final analysis, it was still a matter of the seal. It was so overbearing that Kyuubi himself couldn't do anything about it. Okay, I get it, hurry up, Naruto said anxiously. He couldn't wait to experience what it felt like to use the power of the Nine Tails. On the other side, Gaara used the art of false sleep to make the one-tailed Shikaku completely appear in the outside world. At this time, Shikaku, who had just regained his freedom, also laughed excitedly, feeling the feeling of freedom, which gave him the illusion of being arrogant. This is the chakra of a stinky fox. Shikaku, who was still excited just now, suddenly felt an extremely familiar breath of chakra. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network, it can't be wrong. It's that stinky fox. Even if he forgets the chakra of other tailed beasts, he cannot forget the breath of the nine-tailed chakra. Stinky fox. Get out. The arrogant Shikaku yelled arrogantly. At this moment, bang! The air exploded instantly. I saw a red figure instantly hit the huge one-tailed Shikaku. There was a loud bang, and the one behind him, the forest, was directly blasted out of a large open space by the shockwave, and Shikaku, who was hit head first, also felt a sharp pain. His huge body was actually knocked directly out. Shikaku flew hundreds of meters away. The crane hit the forest hard and screamed in pain. Who is it? Who dares to sneak attack you, Mr. Shikaku? Shikaku got up from the ground, roaring angrily, and looking around. At this moment, he noticed a small figure moving quickly on the ground. That is, Stinky Fox. Brush. The red figure rushed to Shikaku in an instant. A claw-like hand held a fist and punched Shikaku's head hard. Bang. Sand flew out. Shikaku was hit by this punch. Staggered back several steps. Damn Stinky Fox. You kid, you're looking for death. Shikaku was furious. He recognized at a glance that the red figure in front of him was the nine-tailed Jinchuriki kid from before. And this kid was using the power of that smelly fox at this time. Naruto, with 3 tails growing out of his back, at this time, he felt that his mind was filled with all kinds of thoughts that would destroy everything. He shook his head hard, and finally realized why Kyuubi said that he could only withstand the power of 3 tails at most. Now, he already had the feeling, the urge to destroy everything. If there is another tail, his consciousness will probably completely go berserk and lose himself. However, is this the power of the 9 llamas? Really strong? Naruto grinned. From the outside, it was a monster that looked like a fox grinning. It looked very scary. In the distance, Sasuke, who was seriously injured, supported his body and climbed up a tree, looking into the distance. The battlefield. When he saw a red figure continuously attacking the huge monster, and the monster seemed to be being beaten all the time, Sasuke's eyelids jumped. That is, Naruto. I don't know if it's the telepathy between good friends, but even though Naruto had turned into a tailed beast and turned into this ghostly appearance, Sasuke still recognized him at a glance. Is this Naruto's true strength? Sasuke looked at the 3-tailed Naruto in the distance, who could kill him with a single blow, and his brain shut down for a moment. He was speechless. Brush. Yagami Ryusuke's figure also appeared nearby at this time. He looked at the battlefield between the 3-tailed Naruto and Shikaku from a distance, thinking that Naruto actually borrowed the power of the Kyuubi this time instead of channeling Gamabunta to fight Shikaku. Are the 3 tails already so powerful? Ryusuke Yagami looked at the 3-tailed Naruto who was chasing Shikaku over there, and suddenly understood why it was said that the strongest state of the tailed beasts was not their wild state, but the state after they perfectly matched with the Jinchuriki. Just think about Naruto's various forms in the later period. What kind of fairy fox mode? Nine Tails Chakra mode. Naruto in these modes is definitely much stronger than the Nine Tails alone. However, the strength of one-tailed Shikaku is indeed too great, and he is worthy of being a tailed beast. Ryosuke Yagami looked at Shikaku in the distance, who kept releasing his Fengdun training blank bullets, but failed repeatedly. He also shook his head. One-tailed Shikaku, the shame of a tailed beast, it's a real hammer. Naruto with 3 tails can't beat him. It's such an embarrassment to the other tailed beasts. Of course, this is because Shikaku is unwilling to cooperate with his host. Otherwise, he would also lend his power to Gaara and let me love him. Luo enters the tailed beast mode while he is conscious, and his strength is really not inferior to that of Naruto with 3 tails. After all, Shikaku can completely lend his power to Gaara. There is no need to worry about Gaara. Lose yourself. But Kyuubi can't do it. Because Kyuubi's power is too strong. After standing in the sky and looking at it for a while, Yagami Ryosuke suddenly came up with an idea. Cells in the human body are biological pheromones that can transform talent entries, but what about tailed beasts? Ryosuke Yagami suddenly had a whim, thinking that he could collect some tailed beast chakra and see if he could use the system to convert it into corresponding talent entries. After all, the chakra of tailed beasts is equivalent to their flesh and blood. The same. Whether it is the Kyuubi or the other 8-tailed beasts, they are all energy bodies formed by pure chakra. So in theory, Ryosuke Yagami only needs to obtain the pure chakra of a tailed beast, not the chakra of the tailed beast and the Jinchuriki. The kind of chakra after chakra fusion. Can it be converted into the corresponding talent entry? Ryosuke Yagami thinks this possibility is not low. Moreover, don't there happen to be 2-tailed beasts in front of me? Is it possible? Won't you know if you give it a try? Thinking of this, Ryosuke Yagami no longer stood here just watching the fun. He flew directly over, and the sand under his feet supported him, and he quickly reached the range of this battlefield. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 129. Wind Escape. Practice blank bullets. The huge wind ball spewed out of Shikaku's mouth slammed into the ground at an extremely fast speed. A large area of trees around him was destroyed. The power is really not small. But no matter how powerful it is of no use if it can't hit anyone. No. Facing the nimble 3-tailed Naruto, Shikaku, who was huge but rather bulky, could only be beaten. However, Naruto deliberately did not try to wake up Gaara, who was falling into a slumber above Shikaku's head. He looked like he was going to give up after a good fight. The angry Shikaku was also furious, but he couldn't do anything to Naruto. Fortunately, Naruto's attack fell on Shikaku's huge body, and the most he could do was to kill him. It's just a bit of pain, no real damage at all. Even using the blank bullets again and again consumes a lot of Shikaku's chakra. Shikaku is not Kyuubi. He doesn't have such a huge chakra, and the recovery of chakra, the ability, is far inferior to Kyuubi. Why is Kyuubi known as infinite chakra? It is because his chakra base is huge, coupled with his strong recovery ability. The speed of consumption cannot keep up with the speed of recovery. Naturally, it will never be exhausted. But Shikaku does not have such an innate advantage. When the 6-path sage distributed the chakra of the 10 tails back then, he favored the 9 tails. It was roughly 1 share of the 9 tails for 1 tail, 1 share of the 9 tails for the 2nd tail, and 1 share of the 3 tails. The 9 tails does this again. After being distributed in this way, most of the chakra of the 10 tails is concentrated on the 9 tails. The total chakra of the other 8-tailed beasts is not as much as the 9 tails. Therefore, the strongest the title of tailed beast. At this time, being chased and beaten by Naruto with 3 tails, Shikaku also felt humiliated. Fortunately, there were no people in this wilderness. Otherwise, in the future, his name would spread throughout the ninja world. Shikaku Obi couldn't even defeat the 9 tails Jinchuriki, who only used 3 tails, with such news. The shame would be thrown to his grandma's house. Damn that stinky fox, die. 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 The furious Shikaku couldn't defeat the 3-tailed Naruto, and could only keep shouting, looking crazy. At this moment, Ryusuke Yagami came to the battlefield between the two, directly in the middle of them. Wind escape. Practice blank bullets. Shikaku subconsciously fired a blank bullet at Yagami Ryusuke. 313. Don't forget that Shikaku's blank bullet missed time and time again, but in fact, the power of this move is really not small. It is more powerful than ordinary ninjutsu. The power is much greater. The destructive power is comparable to that of S-level ninjutsu. It is enough to kill any ninja below the shadow level at the moment of impact. Even a ninja with shadow level strength will not be enough if he can withstand this blow. The powerful defense means may lead to serious injuries. However, facing Shikaku's blank bullet, Yagami Ryusuke just glared at him, and then several dark ribs appeared in front of him. Yes, I took this blank shot without any problems. Uchiha. Shikaku didn't realize the seriousness of the situation, but the 9 tails in Naruto's body sensed a familiar chakra at this time, and roared angrily. The Mangekyo Sharingan of the Uchiha clan, that it can be said to be the thing that Kuwabai hates the most. Uchiha Madara used these eyes to control him and walked him around as the most powerful tailed beast like a puppy. Then, Kuwabai 12 years ago the chaos. He was controlled by Mangekyo again. Although Kuwabai didn't care how serious the damage was to Konoha, and even after asking for the control of Sharingan, he himself wanted to destroy this damn village. But that time the direct result was that his original complete body was split into 2. He became the 2 heads of Yin and Yang and the 9 tails. Therefore, once again sensing the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan, how could the 9 tails not be angry? He even wanted to break through the seal in front of me, rushed out and tore apart the Uchiha outside. What a pity. Kuwabai couldn't do it. He could only rage in powerlessly in the sealed space. One-tailed Shikaku. Yagami Ryusuke's pair of Mangekyo Sharingan stared coldly at the behemoth in front of him. The tailed beasts are all quite large. For example, the Shikaku in front of him is about 80 meters tall. It looks just like a fat civet cat. Who are you? Shikaku watched the masked man who suddenly appeared in front of him with vigilance. Although he has been disliked by other tailed beasts for not being very smart, Shikaku is actually not stupid. The masked man in front of him easily blocked him. With a blank shot, even a fool can see that this guy is definitely a very strong human being. Shikaku is still worrying about how to kill the overly flexible 9-tailed brat. Naturally, he doesn't want to add more to himself. A more difficult enemy. My name is Menma Uchiha. Yagami. Ryusuke said calmly. Uchiha. Shikaku looked at him with some surprise. Even Shikaku, who had stayed in Tsunagaku all year round, knew how powerful Uchiha was. After all, their 9-tailed beasts were all defeated by Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara back then. They were captured. They were later separated by Senju Hashirama and distributed to other ninja villages. Therefore, Shikaku knew very well how powerful Uchiha was. The Sharingan of their clan was simply their tailed beast. Nemesis. Of course, those under the kaleidoscope do not count. In Shikaku's eyes, only the Sharingan with the kaleidoscope turned on can be called the power of Uchiha. As for other 3 Megatama and 2 Megatama. What is that? What a toy. Uncle Shikaku doesn't take it seriously at all. Was that Susanoo just now? You are the Uchiha who has awakened the kaleidoscope. Shikaku finally remembered what Ryosuke Yagamai had blocked his blank shot just now. Wasn't it a simplified version of the Gundam controlled by Madara Uchiha back then? The legendary ultimate weapon of the Uchiha clan. Power. It is also called the power of God. When he realized that the masked man in front of him was an Uchiha who had awakened the kaleidoscope, Shikaku was already a little scared. After all, it was a kaleidoscope. It was not him. Shikaku Obi is too cowardly, but the eyes of Uchiha are too rogue. He can control these tailed beasts with just one glance. What can he do? Uchiha? Are you a member of Sasuke's clan? Brush. Naruto with 3 tails waving behind him appeared on the side, curiously looking at Ryosuke Yagamai flying in the air and asked. Kuwabai brat, if the Sasuke you are talking about is the Uchiha Sasuke over there, then he is indeed a member of my clan. The strange kaleidoscope swept over Naruto's body. The moment they looked at each other, Naruto felt frightened. He subconsciously looked away, not daring to look at the man who called himself Uchiha Menma. Since you are a member of Sasuke's clan, are you also a ninja in the village? Naruto asked innocently. Hearing this, Ryosuke Yagamai couldn't help but sneered and said, a ninja from Konoha, Kuwabai brat, don't you think that all Uchiha are from Konoha? Naruto took a step back uncomfortably. So, you are the enemy. He looked at the other person warily. At this moment, the voice of Kuwabai also sounded in Naruto's mind. Naruto boy, be careful with the guy in front of you. He is an evil Uchiha, and he has also awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Remember. Don't look into his eyes. Jula, backed, why can't I look into his eyes? Naruto asked doubtfully. In short, just don't look into his eyes. Is it possible that I will hurt you? To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Kuwabai said angrily. Naruto didn't understand why Kuwabai was suddenly angry. He was obviously quite happy before. Okay, I don't look him in the eyes. Well, that's right, and, run quickly. Naruto. No, I've already promised not to look into each other's eyes, so why should I run away? However, there is no need for Kuwabai to answer this question, Naruto quickly understood. Shikaku, Kuwabai, obediently hand over your power. Susanoo. Rumble dash. A giant several times bigger than Shikaku rose from the ground, overlooking the 2 tiny beings below. Shikaku. Naruto. No, is it necessary to open the Gundam if there is a disagreement? I didn't say I wouldn't agree. Shikaku almost cried inwardly. Looking at Susanoo who was taller than a mountain in front of him, Shikaku once again recalled the fear of being dominated by Uchiha Madara. Wind escape. Practice blank bullets. Shikaku opened his mouth and spat out a blast of wind, and then without even looking at the result, he turned around and ran away. If he didn't run now, would he still be waiting to be tortured? But the next second. Want to run? I'll let you run 500 meters first. Ryosuke Yagamai, who was standing on Susanoo's head with his arms folded, looked at Shikaku who was running away coldly. After the opponent ran 500 to 600 meters away, he controlled Susanoo to spread his fingers and grabbed Shikaku. Don't come here. Shikaku watched in horror as the huge palm grabbed him. No matter how hard he struggled, it was to no avail. Naruto. Oh my god. The monster named Shikaku was actually captured by this giant. Just now he didn't understand why Kuwabai wanted him to run away. But now. Naruto suddenly regretted not running away earlier. If I run now, is it too late? I asked you to run, but you really ran. Ryosuke Yagamai controlled Susanoo to catch Shikaku. Susanoo, who was 5 to 600 meters tall, was holding Shikaku, who was 80 meters tall, just like an adult holding an old hen. Let Shikaku go crazy. Struggling, even frantically condensing chakra to form a tailed beast jade in his mouth, it was of no use at all. Tailed beast jade. Haha. Do you want to tickle me? Yagami. Ryusuke said disdainfully. Then he let Shikaku spray out the tailed beast jade from his mouth and hit the huge Suzanu's body. In the astonishing explosion, the huge Susanoo didn't even take half a step back. When the flames of the explosion dissipated, there wasn't even a trace left on Susanoo's body. Shikaku was in despair. The scene in front of him was exactly the same as when he faced Uchiha Madara. If it weren't for the tailed beast, he wouldn't have fallen. If it comes to tears, Shikaku should be crying bitterly right now. Trash, it's useless to give you a chance. Ryusuke Yagami said disdainfully. The next second, he grabbed Shikaku's right hand and slammed it towards a mountain in the distance. Boom! The mountain more than 700 meters high was smashed into pieces. Shikaku's body was smashed and exploded, turning into sand flying all over the sky. Yagami Ryusuke also immediately took away part of Shikaku's chakra and stored it in the system's biopheromone warehouse. The storage was successful. Ryusuke Yagami couldn't help but his eyes lit up. This almost proved that his previous guess was correct. Since it can be stored in, it means that the system recognizes the tailed beast chakra as the biopheromone of the tailed beast. Ouch! In the distance, Shikaku, who was smashed to pieces, screamed in pain. The sand in the sky gathered into Shikaku's head, and then Shikaku was so frightened that he took the initiative to run back to the seal in Gaara's body. The remaining sand lost Shikaku's power and scattered directly. Gaara also fell from the sky. Fortunately, the sand in the gourd behind Gaara caught him, otherwise he would have fallen from such a high altitude. Even if he doesn't die, he will end up crippled. You really have no future, are you giving in now? Ryusuke Yagami saw Shikaku taking the initiative to run back into the seal, and he despised him. Then he lowered his head and looked at Naruto with 3 tails below. Gudu. He felt the giant looking towards him. Naruto also swallowed subconsciously. What are you still doing? Run! Kuwabai shouted in the sealed space. But the next second, boom! Suzanu's palm fell from the sky, directly crushed the earth, and grabbed the 3-tailed Naruto together with the surrounding ground. In hand. Let me go. Naruto struggled, his blood-red claws scratching at Susan's fingers crazily. But with his attack, it wasn't even enough to tickle Susan. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 130. It's useless, you 9-tailed brat. A smile appeared on Ryusuke Yagami's face under the mask. The next second, boom! There was a loud noise. Susanna's palm hit the ground hard. He directly crushed the 3-tailed Naruto. Pressed into the ground. The chakra of the 9 tails on Naruto's body was directly crushed. The 3 tails behind him also disappeared. When Susanna's palm moved away, a huge palm print appeared on the ground. And in the middle of the palm print is the unconscious Naruto. Obtain the 9 tails chakra. Ryusuke Yagami has got what he wants. But the 9 tails in Naruto's body is actually only half of the 9 tails. It is not the complete 9 tails. Therefore, what Ryusuke Yagami has got now should be the chakra belonging to Yang 9 tails. Not the chakra of the complete 9 tails. Then can I brush the entry on Kuwabai twice? Ryusuke Yagami thought to himself. If Yang Jiwei and Yin Jiwei belong to 2 different individuals, then his idea of swiping entries twice can be established. But if the system determines that they are the same individual, if so, then you can only swipe it once. The key lies in how the system determines. Naruto. Just when Yagami Ryusuke used the strength to knock Naruto out, several of his friends also rushed over. The first person to arrive was Sasuke, who jumped from above with a worried look on his face. He came down, landed in the palm-shaped pit, and picked up the unconscious Naruto. After checking, Sasuke found that Naruto had just fainted and nothing happened to him. This was when Sasuke breathed a sigh of relief. "Sasuke, is Naruto okay?" Shikamaru and Inyazuka Kiba, who were a step behind, also looked at Naruto, who was being held in Sasuke's arms, with concern and asked. "It's okay, I just fainted." After hearing Sasuke say that Naruto was fine, Shikamaru and others also breathed a sigh of relief. "Just be fine. Shikamaru, look at Naruto first, I have something to deal with." Sasuke suddenly stood up and handed Naruto to Shikamaru, then jumped out of the palm-shaped pit, raised his head and looked at the masked man in the air and shouted loudly, "Uchiha Menma, you are a member of our Uchiha clan." "What?" Sasuke's voice sounded a little trembling. God knows how much he hoped that there would be other clan members alive in this world besides that damn Uchiha Itachi. In this case, at least the pain in his heart would be slightly relieved. At this time, Ryosuke Yagamai, who had released Susanoo in mid-air, also lowered his head and looked down at Sasuke, who looked excited. He slowly landed on the ground and said lightly, "Since my surname is Uchiha, it's natural as a member of the Uchiha clan." "But why have I never heard of your name?" Sasuke asked doubtfully. "I have lived outside Konoha since I was a child. It is normal that you, Uchiha Itachi's younger brother, have never heard of me." "Yagamai," Ryosuke said calmly. "That man, I will definitely kill him." Hearing the name Uchiha Itachi again, Sasuke couldn't help but have a look of hatred on his face. "Kill him," Ryosuke Yagamai sneered a few times, "is it just based on your ability? How can a pair of Megatama kill Uchiha Itachi?" "I can do it," Sasuke said loudly. "Besides, you are also a member of the Uchiha clan. Shouldn't we work together to avenge other clan members?" Hearing this, Yagamai Ryosuke laughed. "Revenge? I have nothing to do with you Konoha Uchiha. Uchiha Itachi is the enemy of your Konoha Uchiha clan, but he is not my enemy." "Ryosuke," Yagamai said with a sneer. "You." Sasuke glared at him angrily. "I originally thought I had found a clansman with whom I could share the same hatred. But he didn't expect that the other party would be so indifferent. He didn't care about the innocent souls of his Uchiha clan at all. He even said that he didn't hate Uchiha Itachi." This made Sasuke extremely angry. "Angry? It's a pity that you are too weak, so weak that I can crush you to death with one hand." Yagamai Ryosuke said coldly, "For such a weak person, what can you do if you are angry? It's nothing more than incompetent rage. What else are you saying about seeking revenge on Uchiha Itachi? If you really see Uchiha Itachi, you will only be killed ruthlessly by him. Therefore, I advise you to give up this idea, develop and strengthen the Uchiha clan, marry more wives and have more children. That is what you should do." "Impossible!" Sasuke shouted angrily, "I must kill that man. No matter how high the price is, I will do it." "Is it?" Ryosuke Yagamai sneered and pointed at Naruto, who was being supported by Shikamaru and the others. "Then what if we let this nine-tailed brat die? You have a good relationship with this nine-tailed brat, right? Then do you know how the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan can open a more advanced kaleidoscope?" Sasuke vaguely guessed something, and couldn't help but look at Ryosuke Yagamai in horror. "It seems you have guessed it?" Ryosuke Yagamai said with a smile, "If you want to turn on the kaleidoscope, you have to watch the person you love most die. This nine-tailed brat should have a heavy weight in your heart, right? If he dies, you might be able to turn on the kaleidoscope. How about it? Do you want me to help you? For the sake of being an Uchiha, I can help you kill him." "No." Sasuke subconsciously stood in front of Naruto. "You can't hurt Naruto. Can't bear to part with it?" Yagamai Ryosuke sneered and said, "You are so weak, why are you talking about revenge? listen to me, get married and have children. Revenge is not suitable for you. After being denied and ridiculed again and again, Sasuke also clenched his fists with both hands, asking himself again and again in his heart, is he really capable of killing Uchiha Itachi and avenging Uchiha's dead soul? Thinking of this Uchiha face, what Ma just said made Sasuke feel a little shaken in his heart. Does he really have such ability? Just when Sasuke couldn't help but doubt himself, a hand suddenly placed on his shoulder. He looked back and found that Naruto had woken up and was looking at him with a firm look on his face. Damn Sasuke, you're not going to give up on your goal, are you? Naruto said with a grin. Naruto. Sasuke looked at him blankly. If it were me, no matter how many people say it's impossible, I will never give up on my dreams and goals. Sasuke, what about you? Are you willing to give up just like that? Naruto's words seemed to penetrate Sasuke's heart like a beam of light that pierced the darkness. No, I am not willing to do so. The expression on Sasuke's face no longer showed any hesitation or self-doubt. He said firmly, I will kill that man, even if everyone in the world thinks I can't do it, I will not give up. He suddenly turned back to look at Menma Uchiha, who had almost shaken his determination to take revenge. Just watch, I will definitely kill him successfully. Kill Uchiha Itachi. Revenge for all Uchiha dead souls. Sasuke shouted loudly. Ha! The momentum is quite good. I hope you can actually do it and not just talk about it. Ryusuke Yagami masked. There was also a smile on his face. He strengthened his persuasion 30 times, and was actually rebounded by Naruto's words. As expected of a good friend. It has to be Naruto. Ryusuke Yagami thought with a smile in his mind. However, after today, Sasuke will probably be even more eager to gain power, right? After he found that he could not quickly improve his strength by staying in Konoha, it was probably time to go find Orochimaru. I just don't know if Naruto can retain Sasuke this time. Or can Sasuke convince Naruto to allow him to leave Konoha? Interesting kid, I look forward to seeing you next time when we meet again. Your strength is far greater than it is now. Otherwise, it would not be so easy to kill Itachi Uchiha. After Yagami Ryusuke said these words to Sasuke, he immediately disappeared and disappeared. As soon as he left, Shikamaru and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. I was scared to death just now. I thought this person was going to kill us and silence us. Inyazuka Kiba patted his chest, looking scared. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. What are you afraid of? That guy is a member of Sasuke's clan after all, so he will definitely not do this. Naruto is quite optimistic, and is not as worried as Shikamaru and the others. Hearing this, Shikamaru also rolled his eyes speechlessly. Who can have such an idea, should I say, is he worthy of Naruto? At this moment, in the woods on the left, Kankuro and Temari, who were supporting Gaara, also walked out from behind the trees. Zero request for flowers. When Shikamaru and others saw the three of them, they immediately took a fighting stance. Wait a moment. We surrender. Temari shouted quickly. Gaara has now lost his fighting power. She and Kankuro alone are no match for the group of people in front of them. Therefore, Temari chose to surrender on the spot without hesitation. This is always, is it better than surrendering after being beaten down? You'd better really surrender. Shikamaru stared at the three of them and said. In the village, the battle is basically over. The remaining sand ninjas have also surrendered. As for the sound ninjas, originally, Orochimaru didn't send many people over, and most of them came. They were genin and chinin. To put it bluntly, they were cannon fodder. Therefore, these sound ninjas had been wiped out not long after the battle began. Most of them died at the hands of Yagami Ryusuke's shadow. Some were also killed by other Konoha ninjas. At this time, Ryosuke Yagamai, Jiraiya, and others have returned to the venue for the third exam. The 4 purple flame array on the roof is still there. Many Konoha gathered around ninjas. When they saw Jiraiya, their eyes couldn't help but light up, as if they saw hope. Jiraiya-sama, it's great that you are here, hurry up and save Hokage-sama. Jiraiya frowned and checked the situation of the 4 purple flame formation, then shook his head. No, even I can't break this barrier, he said, looking at Yagamai Ryosuke again. Ryosuke boy, is there any way? Let me try. Ryosuke Yagamai said. Then a shadow flew out from his own shadow and rushed directly to the 4 purple flame formation in front of him. But the next second, a purple flame was swallowed up in an instant. Fortunately, Ryosuke Yagamai's the shadow was so fast that it dodged directly to the side and was not burned by the purple flames. No, my shadow can't break through this barrier. Ryosuke Yagamai shook his head and said. At this time, the surrounding Konoha ninjas also looked at him in surprise. That shadow, are they the shadows from before? I know him, he is a civilian genius who graduated from this class, named Yagamai Ryosuke. Oh my god. Just graduated from ninja school? So he is only 12 years old. Killing a jonin at the age of 12 is like chopping melons and vegetables. I feel like I have lived like a dog for the past 30 years. Ninja dog. In previous battles, many Konoha ninjas were saved by the shadow of Ryosuke Yagamai. Therefore, they didn't recognize Yagamai Ryosuke at first, but when they saw the shadow, they all understood. Emotion, the person who saved them before and treated the intruders as grandsons was this kid in front of them who had just graduated from the ninja school. What does this mean? A 12-year-old movie star. Even more exaggerated than Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi back then. As strong as a monster. Even you can't help it? Jiraiya frowned, sighed, and said then there is nothing we can do, we can only look at the old man himself. A group of Konoha ninjas. At this time, inside the 4 purple flame formation, the central area was covered by large trees. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was exhausted, was breathing heavily while grabbing Orochimaru's hands with both hands. The thing I regret most is that I didn't teach you to establish correct values. However, it's not too late to make amends now. Orochimaru, do you want to listen to what you are saying? Correct values. Are you as right as you? Then I really can't learn it. Orochimaru sneered and looked at the dying teacher. Teacher, you are old, it's time to go to the Pure Land and enjoy happiness. Orochimaru said. Yes, but I decided to go to another place. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly raised his head. In the field of vision that Orochimaru could not see, a huge death god appeared behind Sarutobi Hiruzen.